It's time to start to move on towards our North American games now. It's been an incredibly good set of games, though, across the course of today. We've had 9 games already here in this championship. These EU games have been absolute slogs, and now I'm curious to see whether the NA series are actually going to be able to live up to the hype here.
Yeah, I mean, both teams are super close. I mean, the Hammers and Mortals will probably go to a best-of-5 all the way, and Tempo may show up today and really give Nova a hard time. So I'm really excited to see how these games are going to turn out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first series that we're going to be moving on for in North America is going to be Nova going up against Tempo Storm. So let's start to talk about that series here and start to take a kind of a top-down view of it, because, you know, Tempo Storm didn't have the greatest series in the world. It's fair to say they've not really lived up to the hype that they had back last season, a long time ago. Coming into London, they were kind of a hype team. They're similar to how Immortals are coming into this tournament. They were kind of coming out of the challenge battles and feeling really strong. Now, this time around, it's not been a great season for them, but they definitely have the potential to step up. When they play well, they look amazing.
Yeah, they had a really rough go of the season, but then they made a roster change. They brought Gaspy into the starting lane position, and the team definitely has looked a bit cleaner. It had a little bit of a growing pain. You know, the first week with him in there, it wasn't great, but then they started to turn around. They started to find some victories and find really a bit of momentum for them. And they looked a little bit cleaner, a little bit more cohesive, a little bit more decisive. And if the Tempo Storm squad can keep that up, if they can just keep their wits about them, this is a team that can pull upsets off.
Yeah, and on the other side of the scoreboard as well, we've got Nova, who's a team that, you know, they've come in 3rd seed here in the championship. A very impressive result in North America, a very competitive region. And it's a team that came into this season with no real expectations over their heads. It was kind of untested players, and they've come in and really showed up to a point that I don't think people were expecting at the start of the season.
Yeah, and they've done a lot of interesting things. I mean, Truth is so good at hard carrying. This guy is just can outplay opponents if you let him. And with their drafts and their compositions, they brought that captain Baptiste out for first pick them and just do some really interesting comps that a lot of top teams kind of had to figure out how to play against. So Nova may have something up their sleeve in this matchup, and let's see what they're going to pull out.
All right, well, before we do get on into that series, we're going to be going back to the stage with Dan Gaskin, because he is on stage alongside Iraqi Zorro, and they have a very special announcement for you guys.
Not on the stage. I'm on the balcony, and I feel like I should sing some Phantom of the Opera, but I've already rapped once today, so it's not going to happen. I'm joined here with Iraqi Zorro, of course, previous player. You were in the season. Last at London, you were in the finals, and now you're here, you're just spectating. What's it like just being a spectator at an event like this?
It's very relaxing. Usually when we come out here, I'm very worried about draft, very worried about strategies, very worried about my teammates, how they're feeling, what they're doing. And we're just looking forward to the matches that we're going to be competing in. But this time, I'm just relaxed. I'm just kicking it back, enjoying the show, enjoying the teams playing. Feels very nice.
Enjoying it while you can, because there's also some very exciting news for yourself and for the people at home. Iraqi Zorro will actually be joining us on the talent team as a full-time analyst next season. So he'll be on the desk with Munchables. I mean, that is really exciting for you, and a round of applause is definitely deserved. What a feeling. What made you take that step to decide you wanted to move into analyzing the game?
Well, first of all, I'm very excited to be taking this step. I think it's the right move to do for me at this period of my career, and very looking forward to be working alongside you, working alongside the talent in VG8. And the decision that made me do it, it felt like it's the right moment to do it. I've been competing in VG for over 2 years now, and I've had a lot of successes, and I've also had a lot of failures. And as I was stepping away from Gangstars, it just made sense to be moving away also from my VG career as a competitive player. So for now, I'm going to be doing this.
Definitely makes sense. I mean, you've got all that history, you've got all that knowledge, the wealth of knowledge you can just ooze into the community. Now, we've just seen the European games, and we're going to be moving very shortly into the North American games. You've played against all these teams, you played for these teams. Is there a real difference, would you say, in the play styles of European teams and American teams? Because I've heard a lot of aggression difference.
I would definitely say so. I would say North American teams feel a lot more confident, a lot more aggressive. They trust themselves, they trust their teammates a lot more, it seems, than the European teams, and that's why they can pull off the plays that they do. While on the European side, I think they have a lot of mechanical skill, but their meta usually is a little bit behind. Their game knowledge is not up to par with North America, and they just play a little bit more reserved, which is why North America ends up having the advantage.
So do you think that we're going to be seeing a North American champion yet again at this event?
I do think so, especially after those two series that we just watched. While there were really good matches, both went to game 5. I think North America is going to take it again here.
And there was a little bit of stage jitters as well from some of the players their first time being on a live stage. What's it like when you're playing in front of an audience? Does that come into play? Is that something you've really got to think about coming into a tournament like this?
It absolutely does. I mean, I think back, and I remember the first time I was on stage, which was the Vainglory World Invitationals all the way in Korea, and it definitely does play a part. You're sitting up there on the stage, you're looking at the audience, the camera's on you, the light's on you, and you're just feeling, okay, if I mess up, it's going to be in front of all these people. I'm not just playing ranked at home, you know? So it does play a part, and I think a lot of these players are actually doing a good job handling the pressure, but it still does affect you a little bit.
Our final question, quite a personal one. 5 out of the 12 players play with their feet up on the desk. Do you play with your feet up on the desk?
No, I didn't, no.
Let's find out if Munchables plays with his feet up on the desk. Back over to you on the desk.
My feet are well and truly below the desk right now. Very much excited to have Araki Zori joining us on the desk next season. Looking forward to working with you, my friend. Although, your words about the EU teams do hurt me right here. It's time to start to talk about the North American teams, though. It's time to move into the second half of our day. But before we do that, we have a competition going on for you guys. There is 1,000 ice up for grabs for any of you guys at home that are interested in statistics. This is all hosted by Vainglory. Tweet at us using the hashtag Vainglory Live Stats with your top statistic from this tournament. It could be KDAs, it could be goal per minute, it could be something more interesting, more in depth than that.
You know, there's actually, I'm going to give some people out there an idea. There's a stat that I would love to see that I don't even know if it's possible to really accurately track it. I want to see average length or average duration of a scout trap for a captain. Like how long the scout traps they put down stay on the map. I think that's actually a really cool stat because it goes to show like if they're putting their scout traps in creative spots and the value they're getting out of it. I think that'd be a really cool one to track.
I have no idea whether the API can track that one, but that's exactly what we want you guys at home to show us. But it is time to move
and
into
if you win
our
1,000 ice off
series.
that, I get half of it.
Well, I don't know if we can hold you to that one, but let's start to talk about our third series of the day as we bring up our bracket and see where we are within the day as our European games are now done and dusted. It's time to move on to Nova versus Tempo Storm. Now, we already had a little bit of an intro for this series. It's Nova, the third seed from North America, the team that honestly came in and shocked a lot of people with how great of a season they have had. They've been innovative, they've been mechanically impressive, and I want to talk about Truth as well specifically. We'll talk about him a little bit more later because he is an exceptional player. Their opponents here are going to be Tempo Storm. Let's start to talk about Nova in a little bit more depth though as a roster here, because I feel like it's fair to say that they're the favorites coming in.
Yeah, it definitely are. They have the higher seed. They've beaten Tempo Storm when they faced off in the regular season 2-0. And they have just looked cleaner when they are playing at the top of their game. You know, they've taken games off of Team Solo Mid. They took a series off of Cloud9. This is a team that can play so exceptionally well as long as their communication is on point. We talked to them before this event, and they said, you know, we're actually kind of nervous because we, you know, a lot of times if we start, you know, getting on each other's nerves, we can just leave Discord. You can't do that here. You can't just mute your teammates when you're on stage with them. So they're a little bit worried about if their communication is going to be on point here this weekend.
All right, well, we'll see whether that is going to be the case. And then over on Tempo Storm, I mean, these some of the Tempo Storm players, even though in the grand scheme of things, they are new to the scene, like when you compare them to players like Araki Zori, for example, but they've been in for 2 full seasons now, basically. So especially players like Lost Boy Top, these are players that have been around a long time.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, look at their series win during the season. They were against like Equifox, Gangstars, Hammers. They've taken one game, but they're just not able to close out the series. So Tempo Storm will have to keep their composure and stay focused throughout a best-of-5 series of all things, not a best-of-3. And I think the key to the team is hide and top, being able to dominate that jungle and not lose the early game so Gatsby can scale. Because when Hyde gets countered, and normally in the draft he gets countered pretty hard, that's when he loses comfort picks and he doesn't shine as well as he could to help Gatsby.
Yeah, and I mean, one of my biggest questions for this team, I think it's a common question for this team, is Lost Boy Toph. He's known for saying that he wants to prove captains can carry. We'll see whether he can live up to that statement here on the big stage in the City of Angels. And we'll take a look at the roster for their opponents as well. Nova, we've already talked about them a little bit, and one of the guys that I want to focus on as well, Lone Delphi. He's been kind of the cornerstone for this team, it feels like. He's the one that is always consistent, always able to put up the numbers when it comes to games.
I played with Lone Delphi and ranked with him before, and this guy is a very smart player. And Truth is a very clever player, and they both can make plays together as a team. And I think that's where Nova shines. And Starboy just has been consistent. I mean, from week 1 to week 7 this season, he's immensely improved every single week. So it's great to see Nova. And the thing is, when they have fun and they ping during the matches, they do really well. And I think that's a key to their success.
And that's almost always Starboy as well. I feel like that's just who that guy
Starboy
is.
just has so much fun when he's playing, which is just, it's so much fun for us to then watch when the players are clearly having fun in game as well.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Starboy's Twitter as well, I would fully recommend going and checking it out. The guy is a bit of a memer, I think it's fair to say. But let's start to talk a little bit about these guys in terms of the actual matchup then, because these two teams, I think it's fair to say, have fairly different play styles when it comes down to it. How would you describe these two teams if you had to go from kind of like an overview here?
Yeah, Gatsby struggles when he gets pressured in the early game and gets ganked, etc. So he's known to fall because of that. Truth doesn't get ganked that often, but if you do pressure him and get him behind, then you have a chance. But if Truth just takes it away and Gatsby loses lane, then Nova is going to win, because Truth actually can come back from deficits and just outplay people, but Gatsby can struggle a little harder there.
Yeah, we'll have to see. And you mentioned Truth there. He's going to be the player to watch for this series, and I think he's earned that over the course of this season with his sheer mechanical play, but also, as you rightly say, Suijay, he's a very smart player as well. It's not like it's just raw mechanics where you just go in and try and 1v3 people. It's also just making sure that you're positioning correctly and playing perfectly.
And in the regular season, he started off the season very, very poorly. Had one of the worst KDAs. I think he had the most average deaths per game through the first week or two. And then all of a sudden turned it around and finished with a very respectable KDA. You can see it on your screen there. To the turnaround that he had in the middle of the season, fairly early on in the season, was incredibly impressive.
And his story is amazing in Vainglory. He would always stream snipe all the best players, and then just had a reputation of stream sniping, and then he became a pro and just slowly rose from there. I actually played with him in the VIS League once, and I knew this guy would shine, and I'm so happy to see him finally on stage. It is his first time on stage, though, so will we have stage fright as a young kid here, or will he be able to play confidently against his opponents?
That's going to be one of those questions. And one of the questions that is always brought up when these newer players jump onto the stage, I'm curious to see if he starts streaming, whether there's going to be a new stream sniper on the block. And maybe they have a story of getting into the pro scene. We'll have to wait and see. But definitely, Nova, also a team of innovation. This is a team that, you know, they were the ones that brought in the Echo Batista originally. And that kind of led to the popularity of Echo at all, because we then started to see it on all the other captains as well. We are going to get into the draft, and immediately Tempo Storm respect that, remove the Batiste from the table.
Kestrel is also going to be very hotly contested this series. It was the second most played hero for both of these teams during the regular season, so I don't expect to see Kestrel given over lightly, but with Catherine and the Krull taking off the board, this,
that is NA drafting right there.
It's almost hard to say it, but it's so much easier for us to predict the North American draft because they stick to the meta so much heavily.
Yeah, there we go. The Grace Band comes out now. Idris is open, so they have to take Idris here, or else they're going to give Idris over with the Crew and a Lance, which is a very strong combination. And now they need to pick something that counters the Crew. Ooh, Celeste is kind of risky in jungle.
I love the fact, very fast draft. I love the fact that Nova banned away the pedal, though, because they picked that Krull early. They didn't want to allow that heavy counter to go through. That's why, you may be watching at home. If you haven't watched a whole lot of the regular season, you may be scratching your head. Why is pedal getting banned? It's because she is such a strong counter against the Krull. So very smart by Nova to take that off the board.
So now they need to pick a mage carry, potentially a CP Ringo, but that would be hard countered into an Idris. It could work though. Truth's Ringo is just amazing. You can also try a Scarf. I have never seen Truth play Scarf, so I don't think that will come out. He's very good on the stutter step heroes. Like, there we go, and Adagio comes out. Wow, that's a very strong composition there. Early game, they're going to win. Late game, Tempo Storm has a really good shot.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You say that's a very strong composition. I feel like both compositions here are incredibly strong. Definitely different play styles coming out, but strong nonetheless. And I'm curious about this Adagio. This is the first time we're going to see it this tournament here. We've seen a fair bit of lane Adagio, but it's something that very few players are willing to bring to the fold. What is it that Adagio as a carry brings that other carries don't necessarily?
It's the fact that he doesn't have to be the hard carry for the team. Like, yeah, he can be the hard carry. He can do a ton of damage, but he can also, you know, if the situation calls for it, if he gets low very early, he can then just give the attack buff to the Krull and stick to the backlines way out of the fight without risking himself going down, but still having an impact on the team fight. So that's one of the reasons why Adagio can have some strengths, is he is very versatile.
It's just, Adagio and Lance was known to be such an OP combination in previous updates, right? And now with Krull, he excels when he has an amazing frontline. Lance and Krull are like the perfect frontline for an Adagio. So as long as Adagio is not focused down and he's hitting from the backline and healing the Krull, and Krull has a sustain with his smite, it's really hard to play against this composition.
Yeah, I have to say, when Krull comes into the mix, he is always the center of attention. He's one of those picks that really steals the limelight because he is just such a strong initiator, such a heavy playmaker, and you have to be so aggressive when you're playing him that it's kind of hard not to focus on the Krull when he comes into a composition. We'll see whether that's going to be a major factor. So we've talked about how that composition has to work out. How do you play into that? What is the call when you're going into this Adagio Lance Krull? How do you play around that composition?
A lot of it's going to be just trying to kite the Krull, trying to keep him off of your carries, because you know that the Adagio is going to be looking for an opportunity to throw the Gift of Fire onto the Krull once he's in the thick of the opponents. You want to stay a little bit spread out, not too so far that you end up getting split in the team fight, but just enough that you don't end up with the Gift of Fire on all three of you, and whoever does get the Gift of Fire on you, you have to focus on trying to protect.
All right, well, we'll see whether they can make that happen. It's time to get on into our first North American game here at the Unified Western Live Championship Summit 2017. We've got two fresh casters standing by to take this one away. So let's head onto the Halcyon Fold.
Thank you very much, Munchables. It's myself, Dalsy, and perhaps not the so fresh Denominate, but lovely to have you regardless. It's been a great journey so far. Day one of the Unified Western Live Championships. Now it's time for North America. Nova versus Tempo Storm. Denominate. I am excited.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see this one here. Obviously, we talked about the side of Nova. This is really their first time getting onto the live stage, with the exception of maybe Delphi, who's had a little bit of run at the gauntlet. So definitely a little bit of show stage here for him. But as we get into this game, I feel these teams are pretty even.
Oh, for sure. Like, you think about Nova, and they're a team of just absolute talent here in North America. But Tempo Storm, when they're playing at 100%, they are feisty as well. We're going to see a bit of jungle aggression coming out of Starboy as he tries to secure that front trio, but he's not able to. Instead, going to chase Gatsby away. Tempo Storm going to send him back to lane.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gatsby's really been a huge change for this team here. He came in late in the season, was able to turn things around for them. They did acquire, obviously, enough points to make it here. That's why we're seeing them. But, you know, I really feel Tempo played a lot of Baron on the way here. So I'm interested to see now, how will Gatsby translate his hero pool now we're at the Unified Championships with the changes that we had to Baron. It's not a hero that we see very often anymore.
It certainly isn't, and it's going to be very interesting to see if any teams here on 2.7 are willing to try it. Lone Delphi, look at him, he's snuck into that mustache push. They're going for a gank, it's going to be the root, it's going to be Gatsby dying. And a first blood goes over to Nova as they open up the bidding.
Yeah, and that first blood bounty getting onto Truth is no joking matter. It's going to get him a little bit closer to that alternating current. Obviously a little too early for it, but that's a huge spike for Adagio. You know, you get the obvious... you know, you get the Agent of Wrath down on yourself, you get those empowered attacks, but getting them off quicker is huge. And Hyde coming over, trying to steal away some farm, not quite able to make it.
Certainly isn't, and Lone Delphi's chasing. He's not going to chase too far, but this is quite an interesting jungle matchup, the Cruel into the Celeste. One has such early game power, the other one looking to scale.
Well, I think they both scale pretty decently into the late game. Obviously, once Celeste hits that level 8, which she'll do quicker in the jungle, more experience in the jungle as long as you're not getting invaded by Krull. So once we get those overdriven Heliogenesis, I think Hyde is going to have a lot of pushing potential, specifically against Truth's Adagio. He's, not a hero that has a whole lot of mobility in his kit. So there's a huge amount of lockdown potential.
I love it. We've got Starboy on the stage, and he is just spamming that taunt every time he hits an Impale. And 2 right as well. Starboy, such a character here in the North American Vainglory 8. It's been so great meeting him in person and just getting a feel for who he is. And he is someone who's looking to make his mark. Doesn't quite hit that onto Hyde. He will be able to escape, has to pop his boots. But there's the taunts once more. He is just looking to try and tilt tempo through that taunt.
He definitely loves using that taunt. Whether you land the Impale, whether you don't, it's, nice little fun thing to do with your enemies. So, missed Impale there. If we would have seen it connect, it very likely would have been Delphi getting on to the Celeste, finding up a kill. But it is them going to be turning their attention now onto this Elder Treant, looking to just get as far ahead as they can on this Krull. And Delphi's getting to the point in the game where he can really start to be aggressive, and when he finishes that tension bow, it's going to be a huge spike for this Krull.
Certainly is, and it's going to be timed quite nicely with the alternate current for Truth as well. If Truth is able to push this wave in and secure these last couple of CS, sitting on 1300, he's going to have it very shortly. 10 seconds till that jungle intensifies, and we get the shop spawning in the middle of the map, and you can see Nova immediately rotate down. Well, not only is this so they can get their items to nominate, but it also secures the jungle shop, which means that Tempo Storm, if they wanted to purchase now, can't. And that's just tempo control, excuse the pun, over to Nova.
Yeah, and again, Nova's really turned things around coming through after the first split. They were able to find a bunch of points, landing the #3 seed. So really have come a long way. And this is one of those teams that it's, very, we can see a team that looks like one of the best teams in North America, or if, they're having a bad day, might not necessarily see it. We have a Fountain now complete for both sides.
Yes, Fountain's exciting to nominate. Truth has finished his alternate current. No, Delphi has finished his tension bow, but it's actually double CP on the side of Tempo Storm. They are playing double CP as CP Idris, as CP Celeste. This is something very intriguing. We'll have to see if this works. There was a lot of talk whether or not double CP would come back into the meta in 2.6 and whether it would come back at all. Bit of a fight happening in the jungle. Starboy just taking harass here. Nova not really looking for a fight of their own. They are going to back away. But talk to me, double CP. Is this a mistake, or is this just Tempo knows something we don't?
I think the double CP works into the Adagio Krull combination just because Adagio on that back line, he's going to be using his abilities to empower himself. He is very vulnerable to that double attack coming from that Chakra on both passes. And obviously with Delphi trying to dive that back line, he's going to put himself in a position where it's going to hit him as well. Now, I think we got to look at the CS though. Truth sitting at 60, almost 60 CS, and Gaspy just hitting up on 40. So definitely a big advantage starting to form for Nova here.
And that's something that is very typical of the Idris into Adagio matchup. You can really run away with it due to the harass that you can put out. Do see Lost Boy Top taking a bit of harass here as Nova just once more securing control over the middle of the map. Truth, he is right on track for a bit of damage. A Solar Storm comes out of high, but really just doesn't do anything because Lone Delphi is able to secure that front Treant, which will heal him back up to full. And now Tempo and Nova all in the lane looking to see what they can do here. We have Gaspy finishing his Shadow Glass. It's just a little bit under his average. There's a lot of damage. Can he do anything with it? He does get caught under the turret. That is him being bursted! And that's a huge ultimate coming down from Truth. A second kill goes over to him, and Nova now with a bit of a lead.
Yeah, one thing I do want to make note of here is both Delphi and Truth picked up a level 6 infusion, waited till they rotated up to the lane, popped that infusion, pushed that aggression early, was able to find a kill and a lot of damage down on that turret.
They steal away the Crystal Sentry. This is good by Nova. So Nova is the 3rd seed in America. That's not a small feat. This team is a bunch of, I don't want to say misfits because that sounds bad, but you think about it, Lone Delphi played for Echo Fox. Echo Fox just didn't really have the success that the organization wanted. You have Starboy, who was the substitute for TSM, didn't really have any limelight there when you've got such a dominant roster. Truth, maybe an unknown player for quite some time as far as the competitive Vainglory 8 is concerned, but put them all together, there's just so much untapped power there, and over this season, they've really refined that.
Yeah, they've looked absolutely amazing, and you mentioned earlier with the double CP coming out of Tempo Storm, that's going to make it a very clear build path for Delphi, who's going to be trying to get onto that front line. We'll very likely see an Aegis come out soon here for him because that one item will negate a lot of damage coming out of both Gaspy and Hyde.
No, Delphi, he's caught Gatsby here, and it's going to be Starboy coming down. It's going to be a Shimmer Strike to try and escape, but I don't think you can escape this. Easy kill goes over to Starboy, and that's just a third on the side of Nova. They secured that gold miner just a minute before. Their gold lead has expanded to a whole 2,300 here. Lone Delphi's looking to try and take that Crystal Sentry. Perhaps not quite able to. Maybe they can bait Tempo into a fight here as they're going to, with the help of Truth, start to take that down. Delphi looking just to get a bit of healing so he's nice and safe. That's second Crystal Sentry life taken at 8 minutes. They're right on track to remove that before the Kraken's even on the board.
Yeah, Nova has really been playing the objective control game here, and I think with the Krull, this is absolutely huge for them, because obviously Krull wants to fight from bushes, so getting that sentry down is going to allow them a lot more freedom when rotating through the jungle, where Krull is really going to have a lot of freedom to, you know, get the Shadows of Power Me onto one of these CP mages here.
And speaking of the CP mages, crystal power items are some of the most expensive here in Vainglory. So if you take that into account, that means Tempo Storm are playing a very late game orientated composition. And for Tempo Storm to already be behind in tempo, to be behind in absolute control of the map, that's a scary thought if they can't, you know, start to patch some of the holes that's in their sinking ship.
Yeah, it's definitely a late game composition they're going for here. Now, I do think the Crystal Celeste and the Crystal Idris work well into the Adagio, but here in the jungle we have Lost Boy Toph getting locked up, taking a lot of damage. It's going to be difficult for Tempo Storm to get to a point that they can really push Truth back.
Nova here, opening up this first turret will just give them absolute control of the jungle, as they'll be able to rotate freely through the lane as well as that back of the jungle. The Crystal Sentry, it's not long to be eliminated here, and you can see they're grouping up in the lane to just try and force it down. Instantly going in, a bit of damage with that tension bow. Not going to commit too hard for this Denominate.
Yeah, and you know, Hyde now, we are at this level 8, level 9 mark for Celeste. The Heliogenesis are overdriven. That's going to give a lot of zoning potential to Hyde, but obviously Delphi and Starboy are going to want to dive right past that zoning, and it's really just a difficult spot here. If either team comes out on this next fight, we're at a point in the game the death timers are starting to get longer.
Right.
Either team could still come back here off of a clean fight and take objectives. It's still very close. Only 3,000 gold difference here. You know, going 10 minutes into the game, definitely an advantage for Nova, but not something that Tempo Storm can't come back from.
They're going for a fight here. Nova Lone Delphi, as he's engaged, blocked up. The Blast Tremor comes out, but Lost Boy Toph, he's going very low. A Shimmer Strike to escape. Tempo very happy to just try and kite back, and they're actually going to steal that tree in a way, which means that there's no healing for Lone Delphi, and Nova are forced to walk away, but they walk to a gold miner, and there's really nothing that Tempo Storm can do to stop this, so it is just going to be a decent gold payout going over to Nova, and the gold slowly, it's immense, just over. There you go. It's a bit more gold than I thought it was going to be.
Definitely a bit of gold going into their pockets. And one thing that was huge there in that last fight was Gatsby and Toph were dropped very low. But Toph, last time he made it the shot, did pick up a mini candy. Here we go, though, with the aggression from Nova.
Yeah, they're going to try and finish off this turret, it seems. Truth auto attacks it to death, but that's going to be first turret going down here on the Halcyon Fold in favor of Nova. Their gold lead now 4,000. And they are just looking for that opportunity to sneak into the jungle and steal away that Crystal Sentry, because as soon as that's removed, you have to be very careful, Tempo Storm. That could just choke them away from their entire jungle income, and it seems like Nova are perhaps looking to do it now. Hyde spotted out, Starboy positions aggressively just to try and stop him from holding back. That's a great minion candy coming out of Lost Boy Toph, and it means that it is going to be buffed up, but not enough. Ooh, it just gets away. It's going to respawn as well, which means that it's full health when Nova decides to come back.
Yeah, and that's actually not a bad trade there for Tempo Storm. As much as Nova has been putting the aggression on, to be able to force them back and then also not lose the sentry is really a win for Tempo Storm. They did lose out on a bit of their jungle, but they still have this jungle objective on their side. 1 life remaining, and obviously Toph with these minion candies has been absolutely huge, but not only that, the Echo is now available on Catherine. That's where Catherine can really start to excel. So
You've got 2 items on Gatsby, Alternating Current Shatterglass, 2 items on Hyde, the Frostburn and the Eve of Harvest. You've got a Infusion as well. Maybe Nova have found this Crystal Sentry all by itself. Minion Candy popped once more. That buffs it up, gives it more health, a bit more damage, but it is eliminated. Maybe a fight can break out. No, Tempo cannot punish Nova, or perhaps Nova can find Hyde. Starboy Looking for that impale. Ooh, from Hell's Heart, just whispers on Hyde's booty there, and that will be him escaping.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Tempo, a beautiful three-man silence comes out of Lost Boy Toff. The Echo is popped. The team's not in a position to follow up on it. And unfortunately, that is going to be a sizable cooldown now. Obviously, the Echo is going to make it available. But now that Echo is down, and there's a Solar Storm coming through wide on Hyde.
Yeah, that's not quite what you want to happen there. You want to be hitting those, but a bit of damage onto Troop. He can heal himself up. It's the advantage, I guess, of playing an Adagio in the lane is you do have that self-healing. Nova in position, looking for a fight. 25 seconds on that from Hell's Heart means that the engage tool is all Starboy. He goes in, he finds the Impale, but he takes a bit of damage in the process. The Life Spring will heal him back up fairly quickly. It's okay if he's taking the damage. Can they find the engage now that Delphi is just 4 seconds really from getting that Hell's Heart?
Yeah, he's getting real close to having that cooldown off. And not only that, that poison ship is now complete, as well as the Aegis is going to give him sustainability. But Starboy taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, he really wants his fight. Lone Delphi's just trying to find the angle to be able to get on in there. He's taken a lot of damage, Starboy. He does not want to have to pop that fountain for himself. Core Collapse dodged away, but those Supernovas doing work. Truth has to escape. An Impale does land onto Hyde. A Solar Storm almost takes down Truth, but he gets the heal from himself, and that will keep him nice and healthy. Lone Delphi still has his Hell's Heart. Hyde is almost out of energy here. This could be an opportunity for Nova to go back in. Just depends on if Tempo will allow it.
And we do have to pay attention that Toff did not burn the Echo or the Fountain in that last fight. Those are both available to him. Obviously, with the Blast Tremor now coming off of cooldown here very, very shortly, that is a huge engagement tool that they can use. And Truth now has the Broken Myth complete on this Adagio. And as these fights get longer, that Agent of Wrath damage can really ramp up, as well as if Tempo does get caught into a Verse of Judgment with high stacks on that Broken Myth, Truth can single-handedly devastate the team.
That's actually something I wanted to talk about, but completely forgot. So I'm glad you brought up the Broken Myth, because you would assume that's something you rush on a double CP is Broken Myth. Both Hyde and Gatsby went separate CP items other than a Piercing Shard. Even if you wanted to just get the Piercing Shard and then finish your Eve or your Alternating Current, it seems like Broken Myth, or at least the Piercing Shard, is a really important item for the double CP to have effective damage. But yeah, I do see that Troop hasn't finished his Aegis yet, so perhaps it's not as meaningful. Nova looking for another fight here. They're just playing with Tempo Storm. Lone Delphi constantly being that scary threat from an unseen play. Starboy, can he find an Impale? Will they look for the Impale is another question. The Kraken, she's spawned, and so perhaps they can bait in a fight by starting it up.
Yeah, they definitely can, and with Gatsby having just recalled, this is a huge opportunity for Nova here. One thing we do got to point out is their infusion management has been absolutely huge. So Truth, obviously, with over half of a Crystal Infusion here in his pocket, and Delphi has that level 12 infusion in his pocket waiting to be popped. Here we go.
Yeah, it's a fight breaking out. It's Lone Delphi taking lots of kills, just destroying a Catherine, who generally you expect to be fairly tanky. 25 stacks is fairly good, I feel, in a competitive scene. Usually it's really hard to find them due to the fact that you can be punished a little bit easier. Nova now, without the threat of a fountain to come through, they're going to look for this Kraken. Oh dear, Starboy! He just gets deleted from the Halcyon Fold, and now both teams are Catelynless. Will Nova fall back, or are they going to look for a bait here? Truth, he's in the middle of two, he's going in! Hyde takes a lot of damage, here comes that Verse of Judgment, and that will be a huge amount of damage. Gatsby trying to run away, Lone Delphi going to look to charge on in. The Shimmer Strike to try and escape, but he goes towards Truth! And that will be the kill for Nova. Only Lost Boy Top to try and defend against a potential Kraken.
Yeah, it was a really good pickup there from the side of Tempo Storm. Starboy came out a little too far, missed that Impale, and got trapped up by that Core Collapse. Cost himself his life without being able to pop any of the cooldowns. And now with this Krull, they're going to be able to start up this Kraken. And Truth pushing Toff out here.
Yeah, there's a Blast Tremor up. Doesn't want to even risk the potential of a miracle still. That's Kraken unleashed in favor of Nova.
Oh no.
Oh, Solar Storm whips away. That is a huge cooldown. 40 seconds in the next team fight. Surely going to happen before that's back up.
Yeah, definitely with the way that Nova has been very aggressive this game. You know, it is a fairly low kill game, but that's not because the aggression hasn't been there. It's because the chase has been, you know, not as strong. It's been tough making good disengagements with that blast drummer.
Still no broken myths as well for
Yeah.
this double CP composition, and they're not going to have them anytime soon. They are so much gold away from finishing them off since they've had to invest in infusions. Turret falls. Here comes Nova looking to try and push the base, and Tempo Storm, a risky decision, double CP. Seems like they may be just paying a price for it as this turret starts to fall. Good block onto the Hell's Heart. That's a stun, in fact, onto Lone Delphi. And Impale comes out high. He's knocked to death. And now the turret will fall. Gatsby trying to escape, but he's on the wrong side of a wall. He's going to Shimmer Strike, does it, and avoids the Verse of Judgment. A kill goes over. Gatsby escapes. Maybe now they can finish off this Kraken. Lone Delphi and Starboy going to just walk on up, try and take this turret down. Lone Delphi can do a lot of damage, and Gatsby does not want to risk it. That's going to be another turret going over to Nova. A 3-turret push for them. Tempo Storm just about has the money to finish their Broken Myth salts. This has to be the turning point for their double CP composition.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge opportunity, but that game was almost over there, Dowsy. One thing that came through, Toph, you will see it here in the replay. We did see, obviously, Hyde drop very, very quickly. A good silence comes through out of Toph. They're able to find a you know, decent amount of damage here in return, but Hyde just out of position. And then right here, Truth goes ahead and queues up the Verse of Judgment, but Toph comes in with a stun. That very likely would have killed Gatsby. Truth was sitting on 5-6 stacks at this point of the fight. Toph really saved the game here for the side of Tempo Storm.
I spoke to Toph before this game started, and I asked him about his performance against Gangstars in London's Unified Western Live Championship. For those who may have not watched, Tempo Storm, a hyped team, a team that had taken down Gangstars just previously in the Vainglory 8, 3-0'd. Gangstars went on to play Cloud9 in the finals. It's a great run by the organization. They have something to prove here, and Tempo Storm, they want to be going into this Los Angeles Unified Western Live Championship and performing to the expectations of their fans.
Yeah, I think both of these teams really have a lot to prove here, especially Nova with a huge performance so far. Their first time on stage has been absolutely huge, and we really got to see Tempo Storm tighten up a little bit. Lost Boy Toph has landed some really good silences, and the team just hasn't focused and followed up on it well enough to really take advantage of that ability. And then next thing you know, you've lost everything off that silence.
Well, they've got their broken myths now here to nominate, but Gatsby, in fact, Hyde, missing an infusion. He's not got the goal to get that just yet. A little bit of a window of opportunity for Nova, and they're taking this window of opportunity. They are starting up the Kraken to force Tempo Storm to come to them. That means there will be no infusion available for Hyde if they want to fight here. It is all or nothing right now. Lost Boy Toph engaging, but he gets knocked back by Starboy. Blast Tremor comes through, but it's blocked on up. An Impale over to Hyde. The second one comes out, and it's that steal for Lost Boy Toph. He takes that Kraken away, but can they survive? It's going to be the kills going over to Nova. A stun onto Toph. A stun onto Gatsby. He's trying to escape, but it goes down. No Delphi's double, and Lost Boy Toph running for his life. Nova, they know they've won this game. They're marching into the base to nominate to take game 1 of this series.
This should easily be game number 1. Death timers are way too long. Too many turrets stand between the Kraken and the Vein Crystal, and that is Nova taking a pretty clean victory here, not giving up a single objective. I mean, other than the Kraken steal. Beautiful steal by Toph. Unfortunately, if you die off the back of it, it's just not quite enough to get you throughout the game.
Wow. What a glimmer of hope stolen away by the Nova Squadron here. They win their first live game, and now they are en route to be joining both Dynasty as well as G2 on day 2. The smiles on their faces, it's a long road ahead, a best of 5. You can't get complacent, and Tempo Storm, of course, they're going to be recognizing perhaps some of the mistakes from that game, the things they can change to head into game 2 with a smile on their face.
Yeah, Nova's obviously got to be excited off that win, but, you know, it is a best of 5, so we'll have to see how the rest of these games go, Dowsy.
Well, let's throw it back to our analyst and nominee. I'm sure they've got many words to say about Tempo Storm's double CP and that Nova victory.
Yeah, that is going to be one of the big questions. Yes, it is a best of 5, but Nova starting things off strong, and we know that these series are often based on momentum. We'll see whether they can roll this into more victories off the back of it. I want to talk about the early game to start with, because Nova had total control of the entire map. The Crystal Sentry had been totally eliminated by 12 minutes into the game with basically no contention from Tempo.
Yeah, this is what we talked about, the early game pressure that can come out from the side of Nova, from Starboy, on this captain, being able to set up plays for his jungler and, Hyde, there's that possibility that they get countered very hard in the early game, and that's exactly what we saw here.
Oh, looks like Suijay's had a couple of mic issues, so we should hopefully be able to get those resolved
there we
for
go.
you guys. Oh, there we go, he's back.
It was a water bottle sitting on my button. So anyways, yeah, I mean, look at the CS lead, 2.3K gold, but you look at Truth, 40 CS plus ahead of Gatsby almost the entire game. At the 7 at 40 mark in the game, he's already 40 CS up. So this is what I mean, they have to figure out how to shut Truth down, because if they allow him to just get ahead like that, he will hard carry, and that's what he's known for.
Yeah, and it's certainly something that he did a fantastic job of in this game. We should be able to get into some of the replays from that game, especially once we got into the later stages of the game. The fight started to get really interesting, but it was definitely all about Nova this match.
Yeah, this was an interesting one here. The 2v2, first off, Top doesn't get a fountain or be able to use Echo there, but the 2v2 there, look at Truth. He's playing so clever, gets the slow and lands the ultimate. And then they just basically able to secure and win this fight here. And Gatsby with the CP Idris, there's some few situations where he can jump a lot farther when he is in that Shimmer ultimate. And he can also use that to jump on his allies, because when you're on your ally, it actually lasts 2.2 seconds. So that very last fight, he could have jumped into top and then jump away basically, but he jumped onto an enemy target instead, which only lasts 1.2 seconds. So it's very interesting, the placement and how he's using that. But in the end, Nova just able to combo much, much better with their composition here. You can see why Cruel with Lance and Adagio is so strong.
Yeah, certainly was strong, and this was the moment towards the end of the game where they do manage to get, there was a fight ensued before the Kraken even goes down on this one. Nova obviously do take a huge advantage, but Tempo giving it a good go.
Yeah, and I wish Top here got No Wave instead. No Wave was nerfed in terms, or buffed in terms of how cheap it is instead of Contraption. So Contraption is a very interesting pickup for Catherine, but No Wave with an Echo is what makes her completely dangerous. And I feel like they never took advantage of the double silence. When a silence happens and it goes through, you have to stun that opponent, get another Celeste stun on them, and then everyone just focuses that opponent, and I feel like they miss a lot of opportunities with their composition.
Yeah. That was such a sad situation as well, because Toph got the Kraken steal. We talked about Toph being the captain carry, but unfortunately it was just too little too late at that stage.
Getting a steal is great and all, but if you then lose the fight and lose the game immediately after, doesn't do a whole lot for you, but getting you that one little notch up on the Krakens per game stat.
Hey, but you also get style points, so that's always something to be working for.
And style points don't get you to day 2, though.
They certainly don't, and Nova are well aware of that one. Now, 1-0 up in this series and looking towards the second game of the series. Before we do jump into the draft for the second game, I do want to talk a little bit about the fact that this was a double CP composition coming on through here. What do we make of that? Because that's something we've basically not seen for the entire season.
I actually liked it because a Weapon Idris will get countered hard by Lance and a Cruel. You want to play a range CP Idris, which is really, really smart. But Gatsby didn't combo the Shakrams properly. They needed to wait until Cruel would go in, push your Shakram off, and when it comes back to you, then you Shroud Step, and then it'll pass you and then return back and hit the Cruel at least 3 or 4 times. They needed to do those combos to get the most amount of damage out of CP Idris, along with the Celeste. They would have done a little better in these fights.
All right, well, we'll see whether the double CP compositions become something in this meta with the CP laners, but it's time to get into this game. Glaive, the first pick for Nova, and that's going to be replied with a Grace.
A very different draft than what we saw in game number 1. No Batiste ban this time. The Kestrel ban is going to be staying, though. Again, I don't anticipate seeing Kestrel get through the first bans in this series.
We'll see how heavily prioritized that is going to be later on in this series, but Tempo Storm now looking towards their ban. It's quite difficult to know what direction to go with other than just the standard meta picks when something like a Glaive is the first pick, because Glaive, you can go in so many different directions with that.
Yeah, he can go weapon, he can be a captain, which they probably run. Echo Glaive is actually really solid. This leaves Idris open here for Tempo Storm, so they'll probably take the Idris because you can run a lot of, you can flex them either weapon or CP, and then you can then counter pick a jungler into the composition that Nova's gonna pick here. Baptiste is up as well, so they could Nova could potentially run a Glaive Baptiste composition, which is actually a pretty well-known team composition in North America that actually works out really well because of that double CC.
And crowd control is king at the moment. With the Echo buffs, you know, a lot of teams really like to pick up Echo on a lot of different heroes. You want to get as much crowd control, especially with a Scarf. Like, if you can lock down the Scarf, you win the game. It's a little bit hard, you know, more difficult to do that than it is to say it, but it's true. If you just get that Scarf, shut him down, prevent him from being able to get those big ultimates off, and having 2 afterburns potentially, Fearsome Shade ordained, all of those are tools that will prevent the Scarf from being able to ult.
And there you go. It's going to be the Baptiste picked up here, and then most likely, if they're going to do a Captain Baptiste, they will pick a Mage. So I think Celeste could potentially come out here on the side of Nova if they're going to run the Baptiste as a Captain and do a Weapon Glaive, or if they're going to do a Captain Glaive, which would work as well. They can then run a weapon like Vox, for example, would be also a good pick for Nova if they want to run a Captain Glaive and a Baptiste. But it looks like they're going with the other option and go with Celeste, which is very smart because you want to play range against range with the Scarf.
Yeah, we are going to see Starboy's classic Baptiste Captain, and also this was the pick that he classically picks it into, right? Because the ultimate is so great at denying a Scarf from being able to burn through your team. So Nova fully locked in their composition.
Baron.
And Tempo Storm, they're going with the Baron.
Wow.
This is the pick that you know Gaspy for. This was what he had so much success on when he jumped onto this roster. And now we'll see whether or not they're going to be able to bring success here on the live stage.
Yeah, 8 games of Baron during the regular season, their 2nd most picked carry for the side of Tempo Storm.
Gatsby has to use those jump tests properly because it was nerfed, so when he lands, Baron does not have immunity to debuffs for 1 second anymore. So he has to use those jump tests properly because he puts himself in an awkward position. He will get CC'd by the Baptiste and the Glaive, and it'll be a lot of trouble for him.
Yeah, certainly will be. It's time to jump on into this game. It's time to get this series further on through. So let's pass it back up to our casters and get onto the action.
Thank you very much, Munchables, and Baptiste on Starboy. What a treat for us, but Gatsby as well going to be the first to play Baron here on 2.7 at the Unified.
Yeah, I think this is teams really have got a comfortable position here. Obviously, Starboy really made a name for himself on this Captain Baptiste, but Gatsby really came on this team with some huge performances on this Baron.
Yep.
However, Gatsby, you are a beautiful man, but Baron is not in a beautiful spot right now, so I'm hoping you can pull through. We'll just have to see as we get into this game, Dowsy.
Oh, certainly, and here we go onto the Halcyon Fold. It is going to be a treat for us to see how Baron performs on 2.7. And like you mentioned, Gatsby definitely a person who kind of made Baron his signature hero in North America. See if he can continue to do so. He is looking for a bit of contest as Truth going to push straight into the enemy jungle. Tempo Storm, they've got Nova potentially trapped here. They're going to definitely look for it as currently Lost Boy Toff heads on into the backs of the enemy jungle. Come on, Gatsby. Double rocket. Starboy low. Hide. Just one more Spitfire, but he can't quite find it. Nova going to escape, but how many of those camps are going to be taken is the question. Lost Boy Toff able to secure all of it in the backs, it seems. And he's going to continue to put Low Delphi behind.
Yeah, he definitely is going to take that opportunity to try to get them behind. Obviously, Nova here coming in a little bit slower this game. It is Toff trying to get some aggressive engages down.
He's going to be able to escape. So not only does he escape with his life here, Terminate, but he escapes with 5 camps of the enemy jungle. Incredible stuff coming out of Lost Boy Toff to be able to, or not 5 camps, just the entire of the backs essentially, as those doubles count as 2, I believe. So
depending on how much value
away,
they've accrued, right? It's definitely a big amount of gold that Toff has, denied the side of Nova, and that's absolutely huge. Now, Truth is, really on a good hero to deal with a Baron in the state that Baron is, and Starboy on this Baptiste. Obviously, we talked about how good it is into a Scarf. I do think Nova has a lot of opportunity in this game, but if Gatsby is able to get to that 4-item Baron, it is a little more difficult to get there now. But if you do get to that point, Gatsby can really bring a lot of pain because Starboy is not the tankiest of heroes on this front line.
No, not at all. Starboy, on this Batiste, he is known as the engaging threat. He was rushing Echo every game so he can throw those ultimates out as many times as possible and just really knock the team back. Tempo though, they're looking for Delphi. Is Delphi caught? Yes, Rocket! Oh, he gets away with just a sliver of HP under 30. And he's going to be very fortunate to be able to run away from that because Tempo Storm, they've come into this game with a huge amount of aggression.
Yeah, and it's looking a lot better for them, and I'm actually surprised how aggressive they've been able to be with this Baron this early, but it's worked out well, and now this is Tempo making another rotation into the jungle, looking to steal away more farm. Delphi is missing out on a lot of gold right now.
They might be able to get first blood though. Lost Boy Toff, he has bit off more than he can chew. And Lone Delphi will be gifted that first blood, so it's a bit of a saving grace over to Lone Delphi, who's been struggling, an extra bonus of 200 to try and get some gold back. And in fact, they're going to look to try and punish as hard as possible by pushing into the enemy jungle. But I love this rotation from Tempo Storm. They push Gatsby in so he can secure some of the ambient gold. And it just meant that if Nova did make an aggressive invade, they had that extra man already there to stop it from resulting in any deaths.
Yeah, and we talked about how it's a little more difficult now for Baron to get to that late game. So a good rotation there coming out of Tempo. You know, they did lose out that first blood, but getting that additional gold onto Gatsby is going to help him get to that late game. And that's really key here. As we get closer to the Sorrow Blade, Baron will start to do a lot of damage.
We've got two fantastic late game heroes on Tempo Storm. And you just, when you pick Celeste into Scarf, you're basically saying I'm going to out late game you. But Baron out late games them all. And so it's a very, very risky game that Nova are playing, but we've seen them succeed, Denomine, when they've played this game because of the fact that Starboy is Batiste incarnated as a human being. He just knows this hero inside and out.
He absolutely does. And, you know, we talked about the two late-game heroes on the side of Tempo. We also have the Grace, who, once that Echo is online, is going to provide a lot of survivability for Hyde and Gatsby.
Yes.
And also, when Truth does try to make that heavy engage, that Holy Nova can be absolutely devastating to Glaive on the front line because, again, Starboy is not a frontline captain.
Right.
You know, if they get far enough ahead, it very much can seem like that, but it's kind of difficult.
Because the thing about Divine Intervention is that not only does it give you the healing, we'll talk about it in a second, this is going to be engaged onto Gatsby. He's going to get stunned out of that prison, but he's going to be A-okay. The Divine Intervention not only does it provide healing, but it provides the damage reduction. And so when you get Echo there, that's 2 lots of damage reduction plus healing. And you've already got to use Benediction to kind of start it off, so you have a 3rd amount of damage reduction. So it makes the survivability of whoever is being engaged upon so much more so. Hyde trying to escape. Truth going to knock him back. Lost Boy going to come on in, but they just didn't quite have the rotation in time, and Hyde able to steal yet another camp away from Delphi.
Yeah, another camp stolen away for Tempo, and a good use of boots is going to get Hyde out here safely. Lost Boy Toff and Starboy both have the fountains complete, so we're on even footing there. But we have to look at some of the vision here. There's not much down on the map, but what is down is it's more in control here on the side of Tempo. Now, it's going to be about who can win out on this next fight. Again, Baron not really very good at this point in the game.
No, not at all. This is where Baron's damage certainly lacks. They've got the Frostburn onto Lone Delphi, which means that he's going to have a bit of damage to output if he can get the Supernovas stacking on up. But it feels still like Tempo is holding the momentum in their hands. All depends on Truth and his ability to knock either that Scarf or that Baron into a compromising position. Currently, Nova not quite finding the opportunities to do so. Tempo just playing so safely. In fact, Dragon's Breath, they're going for an engage. Can they get onto Starboy? No, they cannot. And that's just going to be an ultimate coming out to lay down a bit more damage. Truth will avoid it. Can Tempo Storm do any damage to the turret is the question. They force the fountain out. That definitely gives them an advantage, but they need to do something with it, Tempo Storm, or else it's all for nothing. Here we go. An engage forward. Stun onto Gatsby. He's struggling against Truth, but perhaps Truth is struggling against Tempo. One more Spitfire. The Rockets will secure it. Gatsby going to find his first on the board, and Tempo Storm able to find something out of that aggression. In fact, it's still going. It's going to be Toff chasing Delphi. He can't quite find the kill. That would have been a slightly embarrassing issue, I think, if you'd lost that out.
They didn't find the kill, but they found a turret off the back of one, so that is a little bit of an edge now coming over to Tempo. And getting that bonus gold onto Gaspy, again, the quicker you get Baron to the late game, the better off your odds are going to be. And Gaspy taking the safe route has picked up a reflex block fairly early here, as well as now has a second tier 3 item online, that tension bow. Some minor changes to the tension bow, but still definitely a very viable item. And, you know, again, Gaspy has really been known for this Baron, and it's showing here, you know, with the Baron nerfs, not seeming to have a huge effect on him.
Nova looking to try and steal away a gold miner here. Toff has spotted it out, but there's just nothing to be done about it. This is great by Nova, just recognizing an opportunity. 280 gold each, going to bring that gold lead that Tempo Storm has been developing a little bit closer to even. It's still heavily in favor of Tempo, considering the turret and just the CS leads that they've been able to garner for themselves in the jungle. Here we go. Looks like Nova wants to play aggressive. Tempo Storm going to push them back with that iron cannon. Those Spitfires from Hyde doing a lot of damage. His Eve of Harvest is going to be finished very shortly as well.
Yeah, Eve of Harvest is definitely a good item for Scarf. The energy regeneration allows you to get more Spitfires out, more Goops out. Gaspy jumps into a Heliogenesis though and taking a lot of damage here.
Have to be careful. Gaspy, the Divine Intervention, going to use just solo to bring him up to full health to keep Tempo Storm in a position where they can be aggressive. Delphi split from his team, but he's going to be able to escape. There's going to be Nova looking to try and steal away a camp here. Truth able to secure it, but what is this going to mean? A fight to break out. Truth isolated, goes on in for Gaspy. The Dragon's Breath going to come out. Gaspy has escaped, and now it's going to be Nova under fire as Truth takes the Spitfire. In fact, Solar Storm turns it around. Gaspy's dead. That's going to be Toff dead as well. Nova turns the fight, and they're going to now look for a turret.
Yeah, Hyde is here in the lane, and Scarf can do a very good job clearing out lane. But obviously Delphi here on the Celeste is going to do a good job zoning out Hyde, as well as helping push the wave. Will they be able to find a turret though, Dowsy? That's going to be the question of the game.
I'm going to say yes. Just going to tick that box straight there for you, Denominator, because Supernova does take turrets pretty good. Hyde really just not in a position to stop them from doing so. 21,000 gold for Nova. They have taken the gold lead by 700. Here's that fight.
Yeah, and as we get into this replay, it was a Ordained used onto Lost Boy top, and Truth comes in, finds the Afterburn, and gets a lot of damage down onto the Baron, who comes back in, and a good fountain coming out of Truth is going to keep him alive. Lone Delphi with the Solar Storm cleans it up.
Impressive stuff from Lone Delphi here. This guy, on his good days, looks like one of the finest junglers in North America, and currently on this stage, the one thing I felt was going to be the issue for Nova was nerves. You know, Truth and Starboy, their absolute first live performance. Lone Delphi, his first in this arena type mode where you've got a crowd cheering for you and the lights bright shining on your eyes. They are certainly keeping their wits about them. They just look like such a clean team. They're going to have to perhaps do something a little bit special to try and secure a huge gold lead, because once we hit the late game, that's when this Scarf and Baron becomes a bit of an issue.
Yeah, the Scarf and Baron definitely a late game issue, but a Celeste can be as well. It takes a lot of damage here in the lane. But Delphi, with the Broken Myth now complete on Celeste, has really done a good job zoning and was really able to force Gaspy out in that last fight, as now they are starting up the gold mine.
And once more, Tempo Storm not in a position. In fact, they're double jungling. They're trying to get Gaspy up to a level where he has a monocle in his inventory. Another immense gold payout to Nova. They are playing that objective game, perhaps not as aggressively as the previous match here, but taking what they can when they can. And these are just little victories that go in favor of Nova.
Yeah, and Starboy committed to that Tier 3 Metal Jacket quite early. He's had it for a couple minutes now, actually, but that's really allowed him to survive. You know, we talked about Batiste being a fairly squishy captain when you do use him that way, but he's able to get into these fights and really force Gaspy to focus a lot of attention on him, and that's when Truth has been able to come in, find a lot of clean damage down, and Delphi's been able to follow it up with the range these Heliogenesis have.
Yeah, look at this, just such range, allowing him to play from afar. There's not much aggression that can go on top of him. He's a little bit forward, a block comes out, here comes that Dragon's Breath and a force. The movers of Nova backwards. Starboy, he's gonna have to fountain if he wants to survive, it seems. In fact, he throws it out. Now Truth has to escape. He has that afterburn coming on up. He should be okay. Soulstorm, in fact, goes out. Truth escapes, and a fearsome shade will keep Nova alive. But a very risky game they were playing there, Denominate.
Yeah, it definitely is, and Starboy came through absolutely key there with that fearsome shade. However, that is a very long cooldown this early in the game. Echo not quite available. We've got another minute left before that is available, and that's really the strong suit of Jerome Baptiste. Truth makes it out on a sliver of health, Dowsey.
Yeah, you can say that again. That was very, very close. Nova just pushing their limits here. 2 minutes until that Kraken spawns. That's when a late game composition gets excited, Denominate. That's when things start to become an issue for Nova, but the Echo is now online for Starboy. So in 30 seconds time, we're gonna start seeing those double fearsome shades fly out, and they have been influential almost every time for Starboy.
They have, but we also have that Echo available for Lost Boy Toph, and that Divine Intervention is available right now.
Yes.
So if Tempo Storm is able to find a fight while that Fearsome Shade is down, they could really take a lot off the back of a fight. You know, as we get closer and closer to that Fearsome Shade, though, Starboy becomes a much scarier Baptiste.
Certainly does. It is going to be up for the next fight indeed. Everyone starting to group up. A lot of damage goes down onto Starboy there. Gatsby just finding 3 rockets to the face of that Baptiste. He's going to be aggressing forward, but not quite able to land any damage onto Lone Delphi as he wished to do. So Nova will move over towards the middle of the map once more and start up this gold mine. Lone Delphi just creating a trap line of Hilo Genesis. They have to be careful here. It looks like Tempo Storm want to come in. They're not going to be able to stop Nova from taking that away, and so yet another gold miner goes over to them.
Another gold miner goes over, and one thing to really make note of here is Scarf really takes off once that third item is complete. But because he's gone with the Eve of Harvest with the earlier item, he does not have that Broken Myth online.
Right.
And that's one of the huge keys for a Scarf to ramp up in the late game. He's very, very shy. I mean, we're not even close yet on Scarf. And Delphi does have that Broken Myth complete, has enough gold in his pocket to get that Eve of Harvest. And that is a difficult situation for Tempo Storm to be in. They need to find some clean damage coming out of Gatsby without taking too much in return if they want to find this next fight.
Huge difference in power between these two junglers. Definitely something to watch out for the next fight, because the Kraken, she has awakened. And this is where Nova are going to be looking to try and force that issue that could be Tempo's demise. A sentry going to go down as Nova distract in the lane. And now they can start trying to get control over the middle of the map. There is that shy scout trap sitting there providing vision of that jungle shop bush. But Nova, they're looking for an engage perhaps as they walk into the lane, do a bit of damage towards Gatsby. He's a little bit isolated, takes no damage as he jumps over that Hilo Genesis. Cool guys don't look at exploding cauldrons. Now an Iron Cannon gonna push Nova backwards as Tempo Storm look for aggression, but can't quite find anything. In fact, Truth just able to afterburn to safety.
Yeah, Delphi actually recalled it like right before that engagement happened. So Nova is forced now to recall. He did pick up an infusion though, and again has 3 offensive items online. Scarf not quite there yet, getting closer. Both Echoes are available. Fearsome Shade and Divine Intervention are available. So this next fight ought to be really interesting. There's going to be a lot going on. Gatsby getting very close to his 4th offensive item though.
Certainly is, and that is kind of the saving grace for Tempo, is if Gatsby can blow up a Lone Delphi, then that jungle disparity doesn't exist anymore. Here comes Truth, knocks Toph backwards. That's a lot of damage onto this Grace. He's going to survive just by a hair on his chinny chin chin. And now Nova going to go for some aggression. Lost Boy just sitting there to heal up his carries, but Truth wants the kill, knocks him back, can't quite find it. That's going to be Tempo Storm falling on back. The Iron Cannon will spot out no one, and the Kraken's going to be started up. Nova going to try and steal this away under the noses of Tempo Storm.
Yeah, and Celeste definitely has the damage to do so, but Hyde is coming down.
Oh, Lone Delphi, that's a lot of damage. That's him dead. A Fearsome Shade does nothing to stop the issue. and they have just disengaged the Kraken. In fact, they've won the Kraken, unless Truth steals it away here with a flying afterburn. Will he attempt it is the question. No, he won't. Tempo Storm, that's just bought them all they need. A Truth Rooter takes some damage, Spitfire's connecting, and the Kraken will safely beat Tempo Storms.
Yeah, and Hyde was even able to take that that Triad there away from Truth, so he's not even going to get that healing. It's now far too dangerous for them to come back in. And as we get into this replay, this was a very aggressive Kraken startup from Nova, but we see Hyde come down, as well as Gaspy on Baron comes over, and Delphi in the front line just gets him absolutely deleted. And next thing you know, that's Tempo taking over the Kraken and now pushing down the lane. This is definitely a sign of life here for Tempo Storm.
Certainly is. Hyde hasn't finished his broken myth, so perhaps they need to be careful they don't misinterpret their power. Oh, Lost Boy Top gets deleted. Hyde takes a Solar Storm. Gatsby trying to dance around the skirts. Look at him doing damage. Lots of crits. Stealthy's dead. Truth now has to escape. The Kraken taking the second turret, and Truth looking for the kill. He finds it. Hyde now has to run. Or will he stay to make sure the turret goes down? He fancies his luck here, and Starboy may just be a sacrificial lamb. He is. Truth has to be careful he doesn't take a Spitfire to the face, because that's just Hyde's way of winning the game. Hyde wants this! Pushing forward, but can't quite find the damage. Truth going to know his limits, and he wants to finish this Kraken before it takes his base. Oh, Truth has to be so careful. The low energy means he can't engage here in Nominate, so he's playing a bluff against this Scarf, and the bluff will succeed in the sense that his turret survives.
Yeah, we're getting very close to the energy being available for Truth. Will they be able to do something here?
He has it. Oh, okay. Wise decision, Truth. Steps away from that one. Will not be the hero that his team so desperately wanted him to. If Starboy was allowed, he would have been pushing to win for sure. Now, Nova have a chance to defend their base. We still don't have that broken myth. It's 1,000 gold away still, Nominate for Hyde, so it's very unlikely that's going to be coming anytime soon.
Yeah, he's been focusing a lot on the infusions, and yes, it is a nice spike in a fight, but it doesn't allow Scarf to ramp up, so Scarf's very easy to do so into a Glaive and a Baptiste, because it can be very easy to land those Spitfires. And we really got to look over at Truth. He is now a full build Glaive with a level 12 infusion, but Gaspy, not quite full build, but 4 offensive items here.
Hyde just finished Halcyon charges. He's not even going for the broken myth. Oh dear, Nova looking for a fight here. Dragon's Breath gonna come out. Solar Storm though ripping through the health bars. He's forced to turn away. Here comes that fearsome Jade. No, it's blocked up, stunned up, but Gaspy, he is dead. That is Hyde dead. Lou Delphi's dead as well. It's an ace coming through for Nova, and they're going to now push into the base.
They are going to get a huge push off of this. Celestic Glaive, so good at taking these turrets. Obviously, those Supernovas will chunk it down very quickly. And it looks like the aggression is ready to go. These death timers are still huge. Can they push for the win here, Dow?
They are certainly looking to do so, Denominate. What a mistake! Tempo Storm controlling the late game, but they throw it away, and Nova are now just 1 game away from joining our Vainglory teams in day 2 of the Unified Western Life Championships. The relief, you could say, on the face of Nova as they secure that win. Tempo Storm, so close yet so far away.
Yeah, Nova really just won out the execution game there at the end, obviously collapsing so well. Lone Delphi with a huge play coming up from around. The Heliogenesis come down on that poor little dragon. And that is Nova taking over a fight very, very quickly.
And you look at the face of Hyde here, just couldn't complete that broken myth. Would have been the key, you feel, for Tempo Storm taking the win here in Game 2. Let's ask our analysts what they thought of that match.
What I thought of that one was Nova showing how clean they are as a squad right now. There was a couple of fights that went awry. There was an opportunity for Tempo to get back into things, but when Tempo are on point, their team fights, their execution is just superb.
Yeah, both teams had moments. They both had moments in this one. The Baron play, I think, was incredible from Gaspy, but that last team fight was out of this world from Nova. That was one of the cleanest team fights that we have seen in a long time.
Yeah, and Delphi, he carried on that Celeste. I was able to pull up some stats. Celeste did 27k damage. Truth only did 18k. And if you look at Hyde and Gatsby, they both did 27k damage as well. So Delphi actually carried in that late game fight and helped Nova secure this victory.
Yeah, and that's kind of exactly what you expect from a Celeste. Let's take a look at some of the replays from the early game, as this was, you know, to be honest, like, I want to talk about the playstyles a little bit here, because this is not what we saw from EU. EU, we saw aggression, we saw fighting all the time. And now we're getting to the NA games and we're seeing these very slow, very calculated, very passive early games.
You say that, but it's just, they're not necessarily looking for fights, but they're not really slow, passive early games either. They're just focusing the objectives. I mean, you know, we're seeing these teams try and force turrets, try and force, you know, the jungle objectives, try and take away camps in the jungle, try and work on those crystal sentries early on. So while it's not as, you know, kill heavy as what we saw earlier in the day, there is still a lot of pressure being put out early. It's just the pressure is being applied to a different area of the game.
All right, well, we'll see whether that continues across the course of today. Later on in the game, though, we started to see these fights really explode, and this is where we saw Tempo actually kind of pulled themselves back on into this one, and it was this Kraken that did it.
Yeah, and the High was able to get on Lone Delphi, and then as soon as the Baron and the Scarf Burst comes in, Celeste just gets deleted because she has literally no defense here. And there's also a great play by Tempo as well. They're able to secure, even though top goes in pretty hard here, they're able to at least get the Kraken over to finishing off almost 2 turrets. But you can see Hyde here, the Fearsome Shade cancels and pushes away his ultimate, but Gatsby is able to make some plays with Baron and then push off Nova away to secure this turret here.
This was also, however, some beautiful play coming out from Glaive. It was really, really impressive just to be able to stall just long enough so that Scarf couldn't actually take this tier 3 turret, waited for his teammates to get back in, and then was able to make a couple of plays happen. But this last team fight was just unbelievable.
Yeah, certainly was. Sweetjay, talk me through what happened here.
Yeah, you can see, look at Delphi. Look at Delphi's positioning and how much damage he is. He chases down the Scarf, and then Truth then takes care of Gatsby. And then look at the CC coming from the Glaive with the Batiste and the Celeste, and they're able to secure the ace and then just push it and finish it.
And the cleanest thing about it was the fact that they went for the CC onto, you know, the other targets once the Scarf was about to die. Like, once the shot that was going to kill the Scarf went out, then the afterburn comes through to say, okay, we know Scarf is going to be taken care of. Now we can turn our attention to the rest of the team and just end the game off of that push.
Yeah, and they absolutely did that. You know, I was sat backstage. They had 4 turrets to get through. I was like, they can't end here. But they managed to do it. They push it straight on through and take another game in the series. They're now 2-0 up, and they've been playing a slow, calculated game. But they have had complete control. It's always felt like Nova is in control of these games. Aside from when Tempo did manage to grab that Kraken, managed to get that one good fight. Other than that, it's felt like this has been Nova's series so far.
Yeah, they just play so confident. They just know when to combo their abilities. And I think Nova, as long as they continue to play confident, you can see that they just excel in team fights better than Tempo right now. Even though Tempo was ahead that game, it just takes 1 or 2 really good team fights in a late game to secure a win.
And we were questioning how their communication was going to be on the stage. Their communication has been absolutely on point. As I mentioned, once they know that they're going to secure a kill on one target, they immediately switch everyone else to a secondary target because they have that communication, that clean communication, that the clear decision making to be able to make those calls and everyone follow those calls, which is so important.
Yeah, and it's paying dividends right now. 2-0 up in this series. Now, before we got into the games yesterday, when we were doing rehearsals, when we were doing Media Day, we had a chat with the guys from Tempo Storm to see how they were feeling coming into the tournament. So let's see what they had to say.
As like the underdog team, our main focus or goal right now is just to really prove that we can still compete with the top teams.
We have to capitalize on their mistakes. We gotta, fight on our terms, not on theirs. If we fight on our terms, then we win.
My main goal is I want to be the best jungler in the NA or the world, but it's gonna be a long ride.
There's gonna be 2 NA teams in the finals, and we're gonna be one of them.
Hyde. Strong words from Hyde, actually,
Yeah.
there, saying he wants to be one of, if not the best jungler. And I mean, last game, he actually did a really great job on that Scarf. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. And Truth did an amazing job of keeping him at arm's length and protecting his talents. But Hyde definitely deserves a shout out in that last game.
Yeah, for sure. And I wish that when they were going aggressive, they need to use the Divine Intervention because it actually reduces damage by over 50%. So they use it more defensively and back off as they're getting the heal. So hopefully Tempo is going to change up their strategy. And like Gatsby said in that video, play to our strengths, not theirs.
And let's talk about Gatsby a little bit there as well before we jump into the next draft, because he was playing Baron, right? We didn't really expect a lot of Baron to be played. It got nerfed pretty heavily coming on into this patch. 10% damage reduction from auto attacks, and then Tension Bow was nerfed as well. So it's like a combination of things reduce the damage a lot that you can expect from Baron, but we still saw Gatsby having a significant impact in some of those fights.
Yeah, I mean, even with that nerf, Baron still hurt. Getting hit by 2 basic attacks in a rapid succession that are at 120% weapon power
And
ratio.
can crit.
Yeah, that still hurts. It doesn't matter. 10% off of that isn't really going. 10% off of doing 150% of your health is still going to kill you. So it's a situation where there is still a strength, there is still a position for it, but unfortunately, if you can't combo it fully with the entirety of your team, you're not going to be able to find the win. And there was just that one slight misstep that could have maybe been the difference between going into this next game 2-0 or 1-1.
Well, we have our first
Wow,
Arden pick
Arden
of the
is picked
tournament
here.
coming on through, and it's by NA teams, not something that historically it's kind of an EU pick, but we are going to see Nova locking that one in.
Yeah, Nova gonna go ahead and grab the Arden, which is a little bit surprising. It's not a hero that they played a ton of because obviously, they were usually playing the Batiste and the captain role, so a little bit different for them. We'll see how it's going to work out. I would still expect to see an Echo on him, though.
I have to ask Squeegee, what is it that you think the reasoning is that they first picked this Arden? Because even if you're going to go for Arden, it's not something that's been contested this tournament.
Yeah, because they want Samuel with Arden to counter any type of assassin like Taka. Samuel Arden is known to be very strong. And while Temple Storm gets a super aggressive composition here, Adagio Fortress Glaive is extremely strong with the amount of burst damage that can come out of this. And Pedalway gets picked here, which is great.
Both of these teams know exactly what they want to do, and they went through this draft so quickly.
Is this a double CP then, or is it going to be a weapon Samuel? This would be very interesting to see the outcome. Or maybe it's a weapon Arden, Bacon.
I would love so much if it was a weapon Arden, but I don't think it would be because then you don't really want to have a Captain Petal or a Captain Samuel. So
hey man, who needs captains, right? Just triple DPS. Seems unlikely. We could well see a double CP though, but I mean, let's try and recap these compositions because that draft went by like lightning. What is the playstyle here going to be coming out from these two teams, Sweet
Yeah, Fortress Glaive is an OP and OG composition. Fortress gives a nice speed buff when he lands Law of the, or Truth of the Two onto an enemy, and then Glaive can just rush them with it's like a boots speed buff, and then he can afterburn them into an Adagio, and then they can just burst him, and Fortress can just bleed him. So that's a lot of burst damage as long as they focus one target. They cannot split focus with that composition.
Yeah, and the opposite side very much about kiting with that Petal. Well, we'll see whether that's going to be able to happen in this one. We're heading into the third game of the series. Tempo Storm 2-0 down. They're against the ropes, but they still have a chance of coming back in. Let's see if Nova can finish things off as we pass it to our casters.
Denominate, I may not be a color caster, I may not be an analyst, but I've noticed something about Nova. They've got this logo that looks like a fidget spinner. They've got teammates who fidget spin between the games, so maybe that is the secret to their success.
Maybe it is, getting your hands a little bit warmed up for the game, getting in here. It's a very interesting draft out of both teams, though, and I'm very excited to see what we have going on here.
Certainly so. Aggression is what we got going on as Tempo Storm have decided they're coming straight on into it. Let's see what they can do. It's going to be Truth on their Petal? Oh my goodness. All right, let's do it. Truth, show us what you've got. Hyde goes in for the engage, but he has to run away. Now it's going to be Nova looking to try and turn the fight. Gatsby taking a lot of damage here. This Petal in the lane, trampolining forward, but Hyde going to secure that healing camp, which means he should be able to escape. Tempo not out of the woods just yet, as there goes that speed boost for Truth, a trampoline forward. Gatsby struggling as the Munyon does some work, but he is going to walk away. Hyde, can he? He secures? No, he does not. It means that he's not going to get that health. And Delphi's deciding, you know what? No chase. I'm just going to take the jungle, my friends.
Yeah, this has really been a signature
mind.
pick for Delphi.
I said it too early.
Getting chased by Starboy.
6 seconds on his afterburn. Will he be able to escape? Delphi trying to secure this away. Hyde, he's just baiting Starboy, but is he baited too much? Oh, he is so low! And now Lost Boy's in trouble. What is this game, Delphi? Aggression on all fronts. Hyde, he is snuck into the bush. If only Truth knew, that would have been a first blood. But he's sneaky peeky. Never mind. A kill finally happens. I can rest easy.
Yeah, turned out Starboy playing with his food a little bit too much. It is Hyde gonna make it out, but that was a lot of time wasted, and Gaspy drops now. Kill going over to Starboy.
All right, so the craziness of the beginning of this game is over, Denomine, but we still have some craziness to talk about. It's a weapon power petal in the lane. Try and tell me how this works.
It is difficult.
Right.
So now, there is a way it works, because your trampoline actually does empower both your weapon power and your crystal power.
I'm gonna have to ask you to watch Hyde die as Lone Delphi walks in. His Samuel is so strong, and he is looking to try and take over this jungle. Tempo Storm know they have to try and shut down this aggression, so Gaspy has been called down to the lane. Starboy going to come to cut off and try and help Lone Delphi. Lone Delphi, once he gets that Drifting Dark back up, he could win this, but he's going very low. Never mind, he will fall. And now Starboy has the hard task of running away from Hyde, who's going to have his afterburn up to secure that kill for his team. 2 go over to Tempo Storm, 1 to Nova, and back to this weapon power pedal.
There's definitely a way it works with the trampoline. There's a lot of damage potential that can come out of Truth. However, he is going to be very squishy, and if he uses the trampoline to engage and get that additional weapon power, he is no longer going to have that to escape. Your Munions are pretty irrelevant here on a weapon power pedal, but if Truth is able to snipe out some clean damage here, use Pedal's long range to his advantage, this very well could work.
Like this, Gaspy struggling under the turret. Nova, a very peculiar pick, but one that seemingly is working out for them. Of course, this game very young, and we're yet to see exactly the effects of weapon power petal in the late game. It isn't going to be double CP, that's for sure.
It is not, and Gaspy is really going to have a good performance here on this Adagio. Hyde and Toph, obviously very aggressive duo on the Fortress and the Glaive. Can definitely get a huge burst of damage down if they're able to find a target. Truth is gonna be on the correct side of that afterburn. Get punted into the turret. A little bit of a safe situation to happen there. And Delphi now level 6.
Exactly.
Oblivion is available.
And Hyde is level 4. He's not even close to getting level 5. He's only just hit level 4. This is a huge experience lead that Lone Delphi has been able to accrue for himself. And this is a great opportunity, really, for Nova to just take a strong early to mid aggression, because we know how strong Samuel is in the mid game, in the early game as well. It's just, Nova's got everything going for them. Breaking point picked up for Truth. Okay, he's going to be looking to stack up some quick damage, it seems.
The breaking point is nice for the attack speed. I'm just not sure it really gives you the best benefit with your trampoline increasing your base damage. A Sorrow Blade can really make a weapon pedal a threat early.
Right.
But obviously Truth with the range can make this breaking point work, as he's able to get a lot of attacks down. That'll allow him to ramp that breaking point up despite not having any raw weapon power available.
Perhaps as well, because the Lone Delphi's aggression, his damage, the Oblivion, only puts minions to sleep. But Lone Delphi's damage compared to Hyde is just head and shoulders above. And so you can kind of sacrifice some damage maybe on the pedal for overall sustain. This could be the reasoning for the breaking point. This turret taking a bit of harass. Hyde moving in, trying to get aggressive. That's going to be a good afterburn. Lone Delphi pops that Drifting Dark, and he will just swag his way out. Gaspy, he's in trouble, gets the fountain, looking for Truth. But Truth on this petal, able to walk away. Lone Delphi as well has to be careful he doesn't find himself on the wrong end of an Agent of Wrath. Nova going to walk away with that single kill.
And one thing that really went wrong for Tempo Storm there was Hyde engaged and popped a level 5 infusion in hopes to find something and try to pull back an edge in their favor. He ends up dropping very early on, not able to find a kill even. So if they're not able to find something off the rest of this infusion, it's really going to be a wasted 500 gold, as Truth may now be working into a Tyrant's monocle for his next item, Dowsy. That could be a lot of damage potential when you do overdrive this trampoline, and we see Truth is getting very close to doing so.
Just a level away from doing so. 2 levels, in fact, away from doing so. And he will be able to have that overdrive available on trampoline. Hyde, he's snuck himself into the bush, but Gatsby not quite there to help on out. Nova instead, they move over to this gold miner. Something they've had such great control is these objectives here, and it is just going to be the gold miner going their way. Tempo, they spotted out, but will they even risk it is the question. Seems like they are going to. Truth, can he secure this?
Immense gold.
No, he cannot. Tempo still that away. This is a huge mistake versus Judgment. Doesn't find a kill, but that is going to be Oblivion putting Gatsby to sleep. Nova, that was a very peculiar thing to do. Just walk away from the gold miner.
Yeah, another thing that comes out of Truth, oh, we got another fight break now.
Yeah, looks like Tempo Storm aren't done, but the Drifting Dark gonna come out. Lone Delphi laying down the damage, but Truth is there. Truth has to jump away. He is not there anymore. He is just outright dead. Areno. Lost Boy top will go very low. Can Nova turn this around with Delphi's damage alone? Only that Frostburn providing damage and slow. The gold miner gets involved. Nice by Gatsby just to hide behind it. It means that if Delphi wants to find any damage, he has to go through the gold miner, and won't be the case.
Yeah, one of the nice things here about the trampoline, it is steady damage over all 5 levels. It is 20% additional weapon power when you use it. The big thing is now with it overdriven for Truth, or as we get to it overdriven from Truth, we will give a 1.2 basic attack range to Petal. And that is absolutely huge for the side of Nova. Really going to abuse that range advantage, and this breaking point starts to make so much more sense. And it is a monocle looking next to come out of Truth, so that'll be a big spike of damage as well.
Yes, so double the attack range all of a sudden for this Petal, as Truth almost with that overdrive on his trampoline. Breaking the meta we are here in Los Angeles. Exciting stuff for Nova. Fidget spinners really just churning the brains and getting the gears rolling.
And this is something that we've really known Nova for, is really to twist up the meta a little bit. Starboy, you know, we'd seen a couple teams before him use that Captain Baptiste. I think we originally seen it on SK in spring, and then on to Cloud9.
Gatsby, he's been caught out here. Can he escape is the question. A huge burst of judgment puts Truth in a compromising position. Hyde knocks him away. He's going to pick up that monocle as he does, but Starboy, he will go down. Lone Delphi now has to try and hold his own, and there's going to be that root triggered to stop Tempo chasing into the jungle. Seems like this Petal just doesn't quite have the damage output. Really needs that second Tyrant's monocle, you feel, to have the burst that that can come out with each auto attack.
Yeah, definitely can. This is a good position for Nova to be in, but Tempo has found a lot of pretty good fights and turnarounds for themselves. We are still pretty even on the objective game.
Delphi is caught out. This is not good for Nova whatsoever. Tempo still away another kill. They steal away the gold lead. They are now in charge of this vessel. Nova perhaps now going to be risking their turret.
Yeah, Nova definitely could be risking the turret. I was just about to say, we do have a little additional damage down on the Tempo side, but now as all 3 members are here, they're going to get a good chunk down here, if not the whole thing, but Truth is here. Dowsy, can he do anything?
Has that attack range from the trampoline. Can he find Gatsby? The fountain comes out. No kills will go over, the turret will fall, and Tempo Storm will take a 1.7k gold lead. Does trampoline forward, does a bit of damage to Gatsby, a lot of damage. In fact, the auto attack comes through and finds a shutdown. Not only a shutdown, it's going to be a turret very surely for Nova as well. Perhaps the attack of the pack just enough to scare them away, but look at that. Oblivion will secure it. Hyde blocks it up, goes on in, knocks the Manion away. That's not good news, and Hyde is dead. A bit of an error there, you could say. Nova with 2 kills and a turret equalized the goal lead, and they're going to move over towards the center of the map.
Yeah, and one of the difficult things for me here is Hyde on this glaive. You know, he's actually done a really decent job coming back in. It started off really, really badly for them. He's actually overdriven the cleave, the twisted stroke first. So the afterburn is still on a pretty sizable cooldown when it is used. However, he does have a base 25% crit chance in his pocket. So that is an interesting choice, especially when you're playing on the back foot. You really want that afterburn to either make a heavy engage, and then it'll be up sooner if you need to make that disengage and get out of a fight.
Perhaps the choice can then be accompanied by your item decisions rather than going towards a tornado trigger or a monocle. You've already got that crit chance from your ability, so a tension bow can provide a bit of pierce and a bit of damage instead, and you're getting the best of both worlds. Interesting stuff coming out of this game for sure. Truth, he has the goal to finish his second Tyrant's monocle. I am so intrigued at how this weapon power petal continues to scale into the game, because I think it would be a shame for Nova to reveal such a unique strategy and then lose with it in a series where they've been so clean.
Well, that second monocle is now online for Truth, so we'll be able to see really what it is able to bring to the table now. Breaking Point double monocle is an older build that really had a lot of success at one point, and man, one basic attack on the Gatsby, that's a pretty sizable amount of damage.
Yeah, Nova looking for the fight here, that Oblivion, and that Gauntlet could cause trouble for the side of Tempo. Goldminer will go to Tempo, now the fight is engaged, attack of the pack, they're charging forward, Gauntlet will stop them, trap them, but the Oblivion will not, and Tempo now to escape a little. Can Nova continue the chase? It's the question. Delphi with that Frostburn slows the team down, and Gatsby just putting on a brave face as Truth goes forward and trades his life. Hyde has to use that Afterburn defensively, but he's taking that damage from the Malison Verdict. Hyde needs to escape here. Tills away that Treant for the healing. Nova just going to find the 1-for-1 trade. They're looking for a Crystal Sentry. Hyde, I don't think, can really stop it either, so it is going to be objectives traded, but the most important thing is that that gold miner did go to Tempo.
Yeah, it was a really good steal. Again, we talked about Tempo being a little bit on the back foot, but Hyde comes through that additional crit and the basic attack reset on that Twisted Stroke, able to help them secure it. We still have a slight gold lead for Tempo Storm, nothing major, but overall, this is really anybody's game right now. Truth on this weapon pedal, very off meta. Looks like he, you know, he does have a reflex block. He also has a additional Oakheart here. Might even be working towards a War Treads or a Crucible for his team.
Very interesting. I am intrigued for sure. A Crucible. Starboy does not have one of those. In fact, he has the Dragon Heart stacking up for himself, looking to just be a very tanky Arden. Man, 15 minutes rounding the clock very shortly, Denominate. Tempo Storm have stolen objective after objective. Nova so happy to start them up to bait fights, but they haven't been securing them, and that has been an issue, I think, in the last 2 games for Nova. Can't really start up a Kraken and then just accidentally let the other team steal it away.
Yeah, and that's something Tempo has done good. They've been really good at stealing those objectives. Lost point off with the Kraken steal earlier. Maybe not the best situation they could have ended up in, but then Hyde comes through with a gold mine. And now Tempo looking to get another gold mine under their belt, extending their lead a little bit more. You know, we're back at about 1,000 gold. It's been very back and forth though so far, Dowsy. And you know, Truth's really going to have to show us that he can make this weapon pedal work, and face-checking a bush is not going to be the way to do so.
Hyde's going to go for the aggression. That Gauntlet comes down, but it's blocked on up. Lost Boy is separated from his team, but Tempo want to go in. Oblivion avoided, Low Delphi going low, and Tempo with the HP advantage, but not quite in range. Truth and Gatsby just tagging each other. Lone Delphi with some damage indeed, and Gatsby very low. Should be able to escape, you feel, but Lone Delphi's going to try it nonetheless. Push Tempo back further and further. They've got no minion wave to push this turret. It is coming down the lane. Perhaps they can wait for it and try and steal something away, but with Lone Delphi taking a scout trap to his feet, that will just be enough to force Nova away.
Yeah, it will be enough to force them away, and as those breaking point stacks came out of Truth, it's really starting to ramp up the damage, and he has gone towards neither a War Trance or a Crucible here. Instead has gone for the Shiver Steel, trying to keep opponents in range so that he can build up those broken myth stacks quickly with the amount of critical damage he does. And this is going to be interesting to see going forward, Dowsy. This is something that we obviously haven't seen before in quite some time. Weapon Power Pedal was once a thing. Way back in like the 1.2, 1.1 era. But, you know, so far Nova looks like they know what they're doing.
Certainly seems like they have a game plan. That is for sure, but Shiver's still a very peculiar item. Did get changed in 2.7, the cooldown reduced by 3 seconds, the slow duration increased by 2.2 seconds, so definitely a buff goes over to the Shimmer Steel just to provide a bit more viability. Perhaps those changes are just enough to mean it's no longer overlooked as an item in Vainglory. Truth certainly making a case for it. Is Kraken still there on the Halcyon Fold? This has been the messiest game of them all so far, Denominator. And you could say in part it is due to the off-meta pick that Nova have brought to the fold. They are ready to try and show its worth. Truth going to be knocked back. The Gauntlet finds a good range. That's an Oblivion putting Gatsby to sleep, but Truth cannot escape hide. Lone Delphi stuck in the middle. Aversive Judgment blocked, but it is going to be Delphi falling nonetheless. And that's Tempo Storm looking for a ace. Starboy cannot steal the kill from Hyde, and that is an ace and a Kraken now for Tempo.
A Kraken for Tempo Storm, as well as Gatsby rotating up to the lane, trying to get an additional turret down before the Kraken is even there, which is going to prevent that instant damage spike. As we get into this replay, though, we have to look at the positioning of Truth. He does take a lot of damages, very low. Gauntlet comes through, and he jumps way separated from his team here. Hyde and Lost Boy Top turn their attention. It's going to be an easy kill going over to them. And then Delphi, in the middle of this Verse of Judgment, takes a huge spike of damage. And that's really where Tempo Storm was able to take the fight. They clean up the ace onto Starboy. And you know, now Kraken unleashed, turret down. This is looking pretty good for Tempo Storm, and they need this really good execution here if they want to take us to a game number 4 with Nova.
Certainly do. They were ahead for the majority of that mid to late game against Nova in game 2 here, but they weren't able to close it out. This time, the issues of not being able to complete a broken myth for Hyde isn't there. He hasn't quite finished his 3rd offensive item, but on this glaive, it's not really an issue because he does so much with his CC just alone. This Kraken is not even being touched by Nova as this turret looks to fall. A good block on the Oblivion. Nova cannot quite get the aggression they want, but it's enough to push Tempo away. Nova very happy just to take that choke point turret and the turret they received earlier as their victory here and continue to have a gold lead, which is 2,000 over their opponents.
It is 2,000 over their opponents, and the downfall to Truth's build here, besides the fact that it's a weapon pedal, going the Shiver Steel route, you don't actually have any defense. You do have additional health pool, but you're not reducing any incoming damage. So yes, it does help you survive a little bit. I'm kind of not seeing the Shiver Steel have the effect we want, though. It's not really being used where Pedal is safe enough to be able to chase down a target that is slowed by the attack. So it's kind of interesting here out of Nova. I definitely think they have potential here, especially once Starboy hits level 12. We'll have an additional 10-second cooldown taken off of that gauntlet.
Once Truth finishes his Aegis, there's definitely going to be some reduction onto Gatsby's damage, but he just doesn't have the gold to do so yet. Nova continuously on the back foot. Hyde, another great afterburn, and Truth, he is dead, deleted by that burst. Lone Delphi goes down as well. Gatsby on this Adagio looking for a triple, but it will be taken away by Hyde, and Gatsby will kiss that triple away. Tempo, they've done it, Denominator. They're going to march into the base of Nova and take away game 3 here. We have a series on our hands now. We'll have to see how Tempo can continue the momentum they've won with this game 3 victory.
Yeah, taking us to game number 4 is definitely huge for Tempo. Gotta be a lot of morale back in another side here. As, you know, obviously Nova taking those first 2 games very cleanly. It's nice to see Tempo turn things around here, really showing, you know, Lost Boy Top came out huge in that game for me on this Fortress.
certainly did. And once more, we have question marks about meta, about heroes, about roles in Vainglory. Weapon Power Petal, perhaps not the choice of the matter here. Could just be Nova trying something new to nominate, but once you lose a game in this kind of scenario, you have to consider that perhaps you go back to Old Faithful, back to what's got you to this point. Now Tempo Storm 1 on the board. That's definitely going to be a confidence booster heading to game 4. Perhaps they can equalize this series. We'll have to find out. Back over to Joe on the desk.
Thank you very much, guys. A Weapon Power Petal. Certainly an interesting pick coming into that game. Tempo Storm more than happy to punish the unconventional style coming into that one. And they're going to be able to grab themselves a game on the board now. But most importantly, I think about that game there was that was like a kill per minute in the early game. Very different to what we've seen in the early games from the last two.
Yeah, it was a much more kill-focused game. And I think that was just because of the fact that Tempo Storm realized that with the weapon pedal, not having much defense, not having a large health pool on that hero, they had many more opportunities to try and force those kills.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't complaining. I much prefer to watch the games that are, action-packed all the way through. But then, I'm a host. I imagine people like you, Sweet J, like the more macro-focused games.
Yeah, and it was interesting to see how it played out. I mean, it was pretty even for the most part. In 11 minute, Nova makes a play, kills Gatsby, right? And then they get ahead. Truth is like ahead 10 CS, but he's not majorly ahead. And when he is ahead by 30, 40 CS, he normally is able to carry. But I understand the pedal weapon. It could work, but in this case it didn't. Because when pedal jumps, right, she has actually 40%, actually 20% damage amp and a 1.2 boost in range. So they needed to just go aggressive. He would back off when he had like 10 plus breaking point stacks. So I feel like they could have played it a little differently to make it work.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the opposite play style to what you would usually see with the pedal. When they go CP, it's all about kiting and kind of playing defensive, but when you're playing the weapon power version, it's like you got to be jumping in, you got to be going aggressive. But Tempo, towards the later stages of the game, it's when they really start to take control, start to win these team fights.
Yeah, they were able to find themselves opportunities to get onto this pedal again. That was their focus. You see the afterburn, beautiful afterburn, to put Truth on the wrong side of this fight, essentially, and easy pickings from there. And then once you get one member down, turned into a 3-on-2 situation, it's much easier to just clean things up.
Yeah, and again, they're not kiting with the Samuel. I mean, the afterburn was beautiful by Hyde, putting Truth out of position and forcing him to go left, and they're split. And Samuel's drifting dark isn't kiting in a direction that Petal wants to kite as well. But, I mean, Hyde just played this game so well. He had such good afterburns. And like I said, once that person is afterburned, Fortress, then a Dodgers on that carry, and then they just get deleted.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult situation when, against a Glaive especially, when you've got these characters that if they do get caught out will get deleted. Glaive is so good at just catching people out, locking them down, and finishing them off.
Yeah, one thing too, mid-game too, I thought Tempo could have played a little better is Gatsby would go in and out of the gauntlet and just stun himself. And I felt like Fortress Glaive, they want to go in, you want to dive, so you don't need to step out of the gauntlet. You want to go into the gauntlet and force a fight within it. And I felt a lot of fights could have went even better if Tempo and Gatsby just played a lot more confidently.
Yeah, and you can see Gatsby there with his damage per minute of almost lead, actually, damage per minute there, 1,334. But that is a huge amount of damage to be pumping out every single minute of the game on average. And a 4 KDA as well. Considering that they are down in this series, a 4 KDA is definitely something to behold right there.
Yeah, pretty impressive stuff. He's been playing extremely well. We talked about the fact that when he came into this roster, they started to perform a lot better. They looked just a little bit more cohesive, a little bit cleaner. And if they can keep that up, this is a team that can pick up these wins against Nova and against other teams here at this tournament. But they obviously have to go through Nova first. They need to get a couple of more wins. Otherwise, they will be going home.
All right, so my question for you guys now is, who was the standout player for Tempo Storm there? Who was the one that was like bringing that win home, or was it more of a team effort?
I thought Hyde and Top together, but Hyde especially with his afterburns, and you can see he's always in the front line absorbing all the damage, so Gatsby can carry from behind. And him and Top just were so aggressive, and that's exactly how they need to play against Nova, because when Truth gets killed like that and focus him down, they win those fights. So that's what they need to do against Truth and Nova.
All right, well, the bans are underway and the picks as well. Catherine and Lyra, the first two, and immediately that Batiste ban comes in. We're not going to see the Batiste Catherine again, I don't think.
Yeah, you cannot allow that to go through, especially not against a team that popularized this composition. So Batiste going to get banned away. Samuel banned by Nova. I'm a little bit surprised that Tempo Storm were the ones that banned away the glaive. Obviously, they know the strength of the glaive, but I feel like it's something that they may have been able to take for themselves, or they could have gotten the Catherine instead. So it's a little bit surprising to me to see that they were taking that hero off the board. They're going to go for this Vox.
Now, Nova has CP Idris, and they have Cruel, which is pretty strong combo that could come out from their side if they're looking to put Truth on a CP Idris. They can also go mage like Celeste. They can also play Celeste with Catherine and then pick, like, for example, someone like a Cruel with Celeste as well. So you have a triple CC kind of composition.
Yeah, we'll see where they do choose to go with this one. Idris is going to be the pick. Idris has been a huge focus across the tournament so far. I don't think he's made it through a draft without being either picked or banned.
There we go.
And there's a Cruel as well.
This is a very strong composition.
Right now, to me, it
Petal.
feels like those are the three strongest heroes in their respective roles. Petal going to be locked in for Tempo Storm, maybe throwing down the gauntlet.
It could work for a Temple here. I mean, Vox is good into that composition, and Petal is really good against a Cath and a Cruel. Petal can just jump away, right? And then trampoline away and not get hit by a stun or Cruel rushing. So this could work really well for Temple. But Lyra's bulwark, Top's bulwark will be critical in this, in basically stopping engages from Nova here.
So guys, tell me, please, this is going to be a CP Petal, right? No more weapon power Petal shenanigans.
Yeah, this is almost certainly going to be a Crystal Power Petal in the jungle with the weapon Vox in the lane, but I really like the Petal pick into Krull. It's incredibly difficult to get onto a target when there's a Petal on the opposing side. Between the Frostburn and the Seed, if they set up a Seed minefield, you just cannot get to a target.
Yeah, what I like to see Temple do is just win the early game, because Petal, Lyra, it can defeat Cruel Cath really easy.
All right, well, we'll see whether they can take the initiative. They are 2-1 down in the series, but now they've got a little bit of momentum. Let's see if we're going to go to 5 games on this one as we pass it over to the casters for game number 4.
An exciting series indeed. Nova versus Tempo Storm. Now Nova with a composition denominator that you could say is potentially one of the strongest on 2.7.
It definitely can be. This will very likely be the Crystal Idris in the lane with the Krull in the jungle, going that weapon power route. That very bruisey frontline weapon power route, though. Very defensive, very in your face, just aggressive. Allow Idris to stack up. And then Catherine is one that we haven't seen make it through the draft too much, but here we go.
Yeah, certainly. That's Petal, you can almost certainly say with absolute conviction will be CP. Hyde going to be running it and just saying to Nova, that last game, that's not how you play Petal, my friends. This is how you play Petal. They're going to be looking for that game 5, Tempo Storm. They have won a game here at a live championships. It's an improvement on their previous at London, but that's not good enough for the players. They are wanting to face EU tomorrow and prove to their region that they can hold their own.
No matter who wins here, they're going to have a difficult route through the EU team tomorrow. Obviously, it'll be the SK or Fnatic. We'll have to see, but Hyde takes a lot of damage here in the jungle. Petal, pretty good into Krull, but when Krull is in a bush and you walk into him, there's a lot of pain that can be brought to you.
Yeah, it's kind of like whoops-a-daisy, just like that. Hyde in a 2 versus 3 still in a compromising position, but there's that speed boost from the Imperial Sigil. Didn't quite get the healing from the previous attempt. Lost Boy threw it out, and Hyde refused to walk into it, wanted to continue to chase Lone Delphi towards the center of the map. Truth going to be stopped up in that bush, spotted on out, a little bit of a tag, you could say. But it is still an early lead, heading over towards the side of Nova, as Lone Delphi has kind of asserted his dominance. And not only that, Truth has just been able to CS freely because of Gaspy's rotation.
Yeah, it has given them a little bit of an edge here, and unfortunately in that last fight, Starboy, I do think Merciless Pursuit onto a Munyon, not quite getting that stun down on the Hyde, wasn't allowing Delphi to get a kill. As Hyde rotates up, though, Nova does back off, respecting the fact that Petal has a lot of damage, especially on the melee heroes, and obviously this Idris. If you get Fury on that front line and Petal is on your face, then it is a world of pain, as those Munions in this early game can be very punishing.
Of course, with Truth heading towards the CP route, you would assume that might be an issue as the game progresses, but Petal can have a lot of early game power, Denominate, and it's something that Hyde will look to abuse in ganks towards the lane. The difference between the Vox Lyra combination compared to the Idris Catherine is there's a lack of healing on the side for Nova. And Starboy, he's trying to make that up with a Iron Gad contract to try and provide a bit of extra healing as Truth CS's in the lane. But it isn't quite as much as that sigil provided by Lyra. Look at this Hyde. He's going aggressive. Petal, known as perhaps a cool counter if you can get the distance. And in fact, Lone Delphi being forced right out of his jungle here. He's going to be forced right towards death. Is he going to go down? Yes, he will. Hyde going to find first blood over Lone Delphi. And that is the confidence boost that Tempo needed in the series.
Absolutely, and another merciless pursuit comes out of Starboy and unfortunately hits a Munyon. That is one of the big things that this Petal can really bring to the table, is if that crowd control is accidentally burned onto a Munyon, then that is likely going to be Tempo Storm really being able to punish you for it. Obviously, the Petal provides a lot of damage throughout most parts of the game, I would say. And then, obviously, as Gaspy comes online on this Vox, it's going to be interesting to see which build he goes. But Vox has really been a pretty devastating hero since his release.
Certainly has. And on 2.7, still a fearsome hero indeed. Has 3 items in his inventory, which makes the guessing game so much more fun to nominate. Will it be a Poison Shiv? Will it be a Breaking Point, or is it going to be none of the above? It is a Poison Shiv coming out for Gaspy. Bit of attack speed for him here, as well as the sustain and the mortal wounds to be applied, which will help with stopping the fountain that Starboy has acquired from doing the maximum amount of healing possible. Tempo now aggressing into the lane. Hyde just showing off the annoyance that is this Petal. Starboy gets tagged right on down. Ooh, look to try and heal up, just passively using the life spring. The aggression is there. That's a big purchase for Lone Delphi. Attention bow on to this crew. He hasn't quite got level 6 though. Makes things a little bit difficult. The spontaneous combustion doing a bit of work. Hyde, a lot of damage under that turret. Has to be careful that he doesn't overextend against Nova.
Yeah, and one of the nice things about going with this Poison Shiv is the amount of sustain that Gaspy is going to have in the lane. As he clears out those minions, it is going to heal him up quite a significant amount, as we obviously are still on the 2.7 version of the Barbed Needle in Book of Eulogies. It will still be a large amount of health, but Starboy comes in with another stun on the Gaspy.
Certainly does. Hyde once more taking more damage under this turret. He's got half of his HP. Petal, very low health hero. Something Hyde will have to continue to keep in mind, as he doesn't quite have the hero pool to be able to tank turret shot after turret shot. Now with Lone Delphi at 6 with the Hell's Heart unlocked. The CC lock available for Nova is quite fearsome. There's a team in Europe called Isuba who plays in the VGL, and they are known for playing this lockdown composition, a Catherine, a Lance, and a CP Idris. And what they do, Denominate, is that they stun up one target and just delete them from the fold every single time because of the ability that they have with the CP Idris to do so much damage. Well, this composition from Nova, perhaps a little bit more standard in the meta, certainly can do the same amount of things with the lockdown available, the CC that comes out. You pointed out to the screen, 4,000 gold Truth had, and he goes back to shop. A shattered glass, a heavy prism, you know, he's just going to buy the kitchen sink while he's at it, because he can.
Yeah, huge rotation there from Truth. He didn't actually lose anything out of it. Sometimes when you do stack up that much gold and have to go back and buy, the enemy team can really capitalize, because chances are they've had a chance to buy.
Oh, that's a great block from Gaspy. That might just be enough to keep him alive. If he had got stunned, he was dead for sure. Spontaneous combustion coming out. Shiver Strike. Oh, that means Truth doesn't get any healing from the fountain that comes out from Starboy. And that's going to be a interesting thing. Silence comes out, but look at that chakram damage forces the fountain from Lost Boy top to keep Hyde alive, and now Lone Delphi's going to try and put the pressure on him to make sure he does not get this Treant for the heals. Hyde, lots of damage. Here comes Starboy. Stun connects, but Lone Delphi is nowhere there. It doesn't matter. Starboy says, I got you, Barrel. He's going to take that one away, but he is going to be punished. Feels Langley, man. And now Lone Delphi going to have to walk away. Gaspy, a bit of damage. Lone Delphi charges forward. Crucible goes out, but it's going to do literally nothing. Gaspy trying to sustain, but he cannot. Lost Boy now, is he dead as well? Nova looking for the 3 kills for themselves, and that chakram just doesn't quite connect.
Yeah, and one nice thing that we really have going for Nova here is this Crystal Idris. That chakram can come out. Obviously, we saw the amount of damage it did on the Hyde on this pedal, who's going to be focusing very offensively, not defensively, as well as the amount of damage Truth has, can very likely clean out quite a few Munions as well, which is not a good position for this pedal. It's going to really bring the damage down and allow Delphi to get further into the backline.
Not only does it clear out the Munions once you get to that late game on Idris, but also once you've got a Broken Myth as well, it stacks the Broken Myth. Even if it's only to hit the Munions, it is counted as hitting a hero and thus stacks the Broken Myth. So CP Idris in the late game can actually be quite a threat to Petal because of that Chakram, not only giving Idris stacks but clearing out Munions. Let's see if this can be a steal for Starboy. No, it cannot. Once more, Tempo Storm secure the gold miners. 900 gold going over to the team, puts them ahead by just that, or a little bit less, maybe 700. Lone Delphi though, he's looking for a stun. He's just stopped them from coming towards this turret. Great positioning from Nova to get an objective of their own. Lost Boy will be stunned up on that Hell's Heart, but they're looking for a re-engage. Truth has to escape, gets the fountain for the hill, and Lost Boy going very low. Gaspy in trouble as the Chakram connects, and that's going to be a beautiful move coming out of Truth to find that kill. Lone Delphi will be traded. Hyde looking to try and return as well into Truth, but he can't quite find the damage. A 1-for-1 trade, but a turret and a gold miner. It nets the gold lead at practically even as these teams continue to battle out so closely.
Yeah, it's been very close back and forth so far. Truth is coming back in. That turret is down. That just means Tempo doesn't have anywhere to run, but they don't want to.
Spontaneous combustion does so much work, and that's going to be Starboy losing his life. Truth rolls away, looking for Hyde. He moves in. Melee for the extra damage, and now Lost Boy under the turret has to walk away. Here comes Gaspy looking to just try and resonance bounce towards Truth, but he's not in range. And once more, the messiness of this series as it starts to evolve, these teams sensing an urgency to try and take the lead.
Yeah, it's absolutely huge. And now Nova has that first turret advantage, and that is a 43.8 success rate for them there. So definitely looking to bring that up a little bit further here. As, you know, fortunately Truth didn't drop in that last fight, was able to find Hyde going a little too far. And, you know, Gaspy now has the breaking point complete, and this can really be a threatening Vox now. It's going to be interesting to see if he does go with that tension mobility arc on 2.7. So we did have some changes. The Sarblade, also another option that some teams have pulled out.
Certainly is. I'm looking over towards Truth. He is sitting 300 gold away from completing his third damage item. It would be a Broken Myth, of course, and that would be such great timing for Nova. It puts him in such a great position as far as the pacing of this game is concerned. There's going to be an engage coming out, that Bright Boy to try and stop them, but they managed to escape. Beautiful silence comes out of Starboy to stop the aggression, but Truth on the front line taking a little bit too much damage will cause the fountain to be used. They're going to have to fight back, but that Chakram does like 1,200 damage across the team of Tempo Storm. Something you cannot afford to just do, allow to happen. And now that Truth has a Broken Myth, as he purchases it up now, that Chakram is going to just do so much more damage. Tempo Storm attempting to take a turret. Truth gonna walk forward, starting to stack up, but it's gonna be Starboy losing his life. Can't quite tank it up. Gaspy moves in. Look at that Chakram dance. It's a 1, it's a 2. No, not quite. Hyde walks away with just a sliver of HP, and it will secure the kill to Truth as he does so. Oh. That would have been beautiful if it was onto Hyde. Lone Delphi, his face lit up as he got the stun, but it wasn't onto the right target.
And I would have been incredibly impressed if that would have came through on Hyde. They unfortunately do give up the gold mine and don't get the turret even. as the wave just wasn't quite there, and obviously the health pools were very low, and Lone Delphi very, very healthy, and Kroll easily could have walked away with a double kill if they stuck around a little too long. So overall, again, we're still very even on gold, couple hundred gold in the side of Tempo Storm, but the objective advantage is in the side of Nova and Truth. You know, as you mentioned, that Broken Myth stacking up on the Munions is a pretty neat interaction here. So the man, the myth, the legend, Dowsy, giving us some information here on this Idris. So
I've played him once or twice. Kind of know a thing or two about the old Idris Reno. Very impressed by the new skin that's come out on 2.8 as well. Ooh, got my heart pounding.
Looks like we got a level advantage here on Truth as well, so definitely something that Nova can walk away here if they're able to find. We saw the Chakram damage if they group up. Unfortunately, that one's not going to find anybody, and now Tempo Storm might be looking to chase.
Just going to clear out the Munions there as quickly as possible, try and provide themselves a little bit of advantage in this area. They want to find in this choke point so they can get that Chakram done. Oh, that's a beautiful stun! That's Hyde stunned up, locked down, taken on down! And now it's going to be Nova pushing forward, looking for Gatsby as well. A double kill for Truth CP Idris. He is unstoppable, has shown that he can play weapon power, he can play CP. This guy knows how to play Idris, and it makes me smile.
Truth has really been an impressive player as he's come onto this roster. He's so mechanically gifted that the Idris really makes sense to him. Obviously, there are divergent paths. There's, you know, you can play the crystal route, you can play that backline. As we get into this replay, there's the stun coming through Lone Delphi there, and the health bar of Hyde is just absolutely deleted. They turn their attention onto Gatsby. That damage just ramps up so easily, and they find another turret for themselves.
And it's the CC lock that Catherine provides after the Hell's Heart connects. It just makes the game so easy when they can't move, and you can continue to do so much work to that poor soul that's locked down out of bounds. Starboy pushes forward. There's the stun coming out onto Hyde. Truth rounding his way over, looking. In fact, he's finished at the eve of harvest. He's got it before the Kraken's even here. The timing on this guy, he is so far ahead. 6-1-0, 168 CS at 14:33. Unstoppable, man. Gatsby, where are you? You're dead. You're gone. And oh dear, Lost Boy, he's gonna follow. It's only Hyde left, and Nova says, I'll have ya. Truth goes on in, looks for it and gets it. It's an ace, and the Kraken's gonna spawn in just 10.
Kraken's gonna be on the board here very shortly, but this turret's not looking to be here much longer, Dowsy. And I think Truth has clearly enough damage to take it down. And these death timers are pretty low for Tempo. It might be a little risky for Nova if they are gonna turn their attention to the Kraken. I do think they need to hold off for a bit, as the objective stealing game coming out of Tempo Storm has been absolutely huge this series. And they are gonna look just to take some of the jungle on their way out.
Certainly will. Just taking everything. Oh, Starboy finishes an Echo now. The double blast tremor gonna come through. That's going to provide a bit of an issue. He could go for it now. He has that blast tremor available. Look at the damage off the top. He's going so low. The silence comes through. The Chakram dances. Hell's Heart. Tough almost walks into it, but he's gonna go down nonetheless. Here comes Truth. The Chakram doesn't quite find the kill. He's gonna continue the chase onto Hyde as Delphi finishes off Gatsby. Hyde has to run. He has to try to escape, but Truth happy to play this game. A single auto attack finishes the job. An ace comes through for Nova. They don't need no Krakens. They're going through to day 2. Unless Lost Boy Top can stop them, this is gonna be the win coming through for Nova. They're gonna focus onto these Vain Crystal turrets and take them down in a swift swoop. Gatsby respawns, but can he stop Truth? No, he cannot. And Nova will be going through to day 2.
Beautifully executed plays there out of Truth. Again, such a mechanically gifted player, but we got to give the credit to the team. It wasn't just Truth out there making the plays. This team looked very coordinated. Unfortunately, they did drop a game with that weapon pedal, but I'm excited to see Nova go forward here and see how they're able to take on the European counterpart going into tomorrow's games.
Yeah, they are the highest seed coming out from North America on day 1, which means they will be playing up against Fnatic, who are European 2nd seed. Going to be an excellent matchup tomorrow, one I wait for endearingly. An excellent series coming out. Congratulations to Nova. Let's throw it back to Munchables and his analysts to break down that win.
What a game coming out from Nova. In the end, they are going to be able to take this series 3-1. And that means they're going to move on to tomorrow to face Fnatic. And we'll go into the nitty-gritty of that tomorrow when we get there. But let's talk about that game, because it wasn't the easiest game in the world for Nova. It wasn't as easy as their previous 2 wins in this series. Definitely, it feels like Tempo were warming up the longer they were on the stage.
Yeah, Tempo Storm put up a great fight here. It wasn't, they didn't lose this game because they played poorly. They lost this game because Nova played exceptionally. Nova won this series. It was not the other way around. So really strong play from both sides, but I'm so happy to see both of these teams be able to perform at what felt like a much higher level than we saw them even during the regular season.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, let's talk about the early game, because it was very even for a long time in this game.
Yeah, for sure, and it's kind of back and forth, and you can see Petal Lyra is so strong, has so much sustain in jungle, but you can see Delphi is just playing really smart with his crew and just knowing how to leverage his Shadows Empower Me perk to get the slow, etc. But Petal also played a huge role in these team fights as well, being able to secure key kills. And it was interesting what Nova did here. Delphi is soloing the gold mine, and it's a 2v3 fight on the top, and Delphi's just minding his own business. I'm gonna take this miner. And the whole entire game, the goal was pretty even, but Truth was ahead in CS, as you can see. He was ahead about 10 to 20 CS for most of the game, and he ended up doing 38k damage, which is more than the entire Tempo Storm team put together.
Like, when you bear in mind kind of average damage from what I've seen across the course of the day is around 20k, 25k maybe, and then you've got 40k, it's almost double average. So Truth just went on a wild one in that game. That CP Idris was it was masterful to watch, and once we got to the later stages of the game, that's when it really comes online and you start to see him just tear through health
And this
bars.
is why we saw Idris banned so frequently to start today off, because that CP Idris just outputs an absurd amount of damage.
Yeah, I mean, his auto attacks do 100% CP with the alternating current, which is another 65% CP additional for every other auto attack. And then his Chakram has a 130% CP ratio. And in Truth did it really well. He would throw a Chakram and then ult into them, and the Chakram would go back and forth and hit the entire team like 3 times. That is amazing, and that's how you play a CP Idris, is you want to maximize how that Chakram goes back and forth, hitting the enemy team multiple times.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about Truth before the series, about his mechanics, and absolutely showing up. Idris is one of those heroes that, has an incredibly high skill cap, and Truth is the kind of player that can truly abuse that and truly make it work for himself. And this was the final team fight. This was Nova basically just tying a bow on the series, finishing things off. Hyde gave him a little bit of a jog for it, made him work for it in the end, but it was going to be enough, and it means that Nova move on to tomorrow. And the MVP for that series is going to be going over to Lone Delphi. I think Truth was trying to get a shot at that in the last game, but across the course of the series, Delphi was definitely that consistent cornerstone of the team that we talk about.
Yeah, while Truth had absurd damage numbers, a lot of that was initiated by Delphi. He was able to set up so many plays. Whether he was playing the Glaive, whether he was playing the Krull, whether he was playing something, it didn't really matter which hero he was on. He was able to create and set up opportunities. There was one game where he had like a 3-level advantage over the opposing jungle. Like, that's an absurd amount of experience advantage to have in the jungle, no less. So I think all of that combined, it's the stuff that doesn't show up on the scoreboard is kind of the reason why we decided to give him the MVP.
And you gotta watch out for this guy, Celeste. I mean, his Celeste is so good. His skill shotting, landing his stuns, his ultimates. Lone Delphi has played extremely well, and I'm glad that he's the MVP for today.
Yeah, I think well deserved on that one. He's really shown up to this series. And we're going to pass it over to Dan, who is standing by now with an interview with Starboy. So take it away, Dan.
It's not Starboy. You're not Starboy, are you?
What?
You're not Starboy, are you?
No, I'm not.
It's Delphi. He's the MVP. Come on, Joe. Come on. Someone says the wrong thing in his ear. Anyway, you were deserved MVP. An incredible performance from you guys. But I want to talk about Game 3 first, because there was some interesting decisions. I mean, there was a lane petal was the decision. What happened there?
Well, we had been experimenting with it over the past few days, and we were thinking, we were pretty confident that we could win the series, so we were like, if we can pull off a win with Weapon Petal, it's like something for the other teams to think about that we're going to play. And we definitely played it poorly because we didn't have that much practice on it. But yeah, it just didn't work like we wanted it to.
So it was an attempt at a statement as well as a little bit of practice. I like that. I respect that. Moving forward to tomorrow, you guys will be facing off against Fnatic. You feeling confident?
I'm feeling confident. I feel like they're definitely one of the better teams from EU, but just in general, EU just not as good, but it'll be a good match.
The fire. So you were the MVP for that game. What do you think you bring to the team? Apart from, of course, amazing mechanical skill and in-game skill, are you a big voice in the team, or do you allow other teammates to do that?
A lot of the times it's me and Starboy making the calls to like go in, and we're kind of setting up plays for Truth for him to do like big damage. And like as you saw in the last game, especially like Kroll, like we would just CC someone for Truth, and then it was just over.
Game over, and maybe it'll be game over for EU tomorrow as well. Congrats on your win. It was an amazing performance. Let's head back over to the desk.
Thank you very much, guys. Great job there by Lone Delphi. Deserving MVP and feeling confident going on into tomorrow as well. Saying that maybe EU is just not simply as good. We'll have to wait and see tomorrow.